Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Stronghold podcast. We are coming to you one day removed from Lion City Championship #1 Genesis. I'm here with Major Overall, the head coach of Kai Xiong, fighting in the main event. Major, what's up, dude?
What's going on, brother?
Pretty good, and as always, Jake, the producer, over there in the corner doing all the hard work.
Listen how much work I'm doing. My arms are literally crossed whilst I'm pressing buttons.
Which you can tell. Look at him. Look at him. Elegant over there, Jake, doing all the work. We need you so much, Jake. Listen, if you guys knew the work that it took to make this podcast run, you look around this place, it's ridiculous. But we're here. We may have had a couple of cheeky beers before this thing even started. So there's a good chance this could get sloppy fast. But we are here ready to break down some fights from yesterday's Lion City event. You guys all know, listening to this, that we wanted this podcast to represent some form of local martial arts. And finally, for the first time since the pandemic began, we were able to put on some local mixed martial arts fights. A big night. It was like 9. Was it 9 fights?
I think so, yeah.
9 fights, and then one pro fight, which was Kai Xiong there in the main event. Do you want to start? You want to start with Kai Xiong?
We can work our way up the card, I guess.
Okay, let's work our way up to the card. Jake, why don't you throw, if one of your 9 hands is available, to pull up the main card here. You know what? What are your first thoughts, Major, about the card? You were able to catch all the fights there, and actually, you know most of the guys that were fighting, even more than me, because you're so entrenched in the MMA scene here. So what were your thoughts about the fights?
It was good, man. It was kind of like, I felt like it was, it's a good starting point, you know, because MMA had all but more or less died off.
Pull that dick right up to your mouth, dude. Yeah. That robot dick.
Right there.
Yeah, you can adjust it as well if you need to pull it straight up. So go ahead.
Yeah, so it's good because I feel like the scene had all but, more or less died off in recent years. But now you're seeing like a bunch of new faces on the scene, like competing and just giving it their best, But a lot of them are 0-0 amateurs, making a lot of mistakes as you're supposed to, But it was cool just watching these guys. Like, it's gonna be more fun watching them develop too. Some of these guys, I reckon, will come back and we'll see a little bit of their mistakes tuned up a little bit, But the level overall was not bad. There wasn't a range where they just completely didn't know what to do, like you see in a lot of amateur fights. It's just they could have done some things better. But like, if you're a pro, of course you do some things better. But as an amateur, like, they were at least proficient in most areas, which is cool.
Well, I'm glad that you're here because I'm in the same boat where, of course, you diagnose things that you could see people do better than. Mm-hmm. You could see mistakes that they would like to see, and I don't want people listening to this podcast to think I'm like shitting on anybody, right? But if you were to sort of critique the general trends that you saw, what do you think some of these young guys could go back to their gym and work on? Like, what were some, again, for lack of a better word, like some red flags or some weaknesses in the overall mixed martial arts game that you think that these guys could go back and improve on?
I feel like a lot of the guys had like compartmentalized skill sets. You didn't see those weird little gaps in between the ranges. You know what I mean? Like, they didn't know things like, because in jiu-jitsu they don't teach you really like how to get up. So I didn't see that done as it would be done if a person had trained exclusively MMA or primarily MMA for the sake of MMA. But nonetheless, it was still good. It's a good starting point because you have to start somewhere, man. And at least they have like some basic skill sets, that they can come to the competition with and, learn from, and hopefully maybe study your podcast and see what your advice might be for these young guys and how to move forward.
Well, I should mention Major Overall, of course, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, head coach of Matrix MMA here in Singapore. He's the coach of Kai Xiong, who fought in the main event, former one championship fighter. And I like to say that to you because, again, I don't want these people thinking that I'm like, coming from some higher place. And of course, I'm a Jiu-Jitsu black belt and we're both pro MMA fighters. And actually, I was thinking of this, a couple things I wanted to speak to you about, but the one would be, of course, where these guys can make their improvement, and you think it would be like getting up from the bottom, like the wrestling sort of from the bottom.
It was almost like not just that's one example, right? Because that's one thing that you wouldn't train in your compartmentalized training. Like if you're doing Muay Thai and you're doing Jiu-Jitsu and you're doing wrestling, it could be blended a little bit better. But of course, that no matter what, that's probably going to be something that you're going to experience in your first few fights anyway, right?
Most of these guys probably making their debut as well.
Yeah,
like
a lot of 0-0 guys.
Yeah, especially there were even a few that had like amateur boxing matches or amateur kickboxing fights, but really integrating the skills is the hard part.
Right. You could see the individual skill sets, though. You could see that, like, some of these guys had really good jiu-jitsu, some of these guys had really good striking. But when they stopped striking, they would just kind of clap their hands and then shoot from a mile away. It was not like shooting at the end of the punches. It was, you know what I mean? It was, but it's good. It's a good start. I mean, I can't say that I've ever seen an amateur card where you had this many 0-0 guys that were this good, to be fair.
And the quality of the matchmaking was really, I mean, I've gone,
Right.
I mentioned it several times on the live broadcast as I was doing the commentary there that, you know how it is, dude. How many amateur events have you been to? Almost always like 60 to 70% of the matches, one guy's skill level is just higher. And you
Right.
typically see a lot of finishes, like one guy smashing the other one. There was the early fight, the first fight, actually, you got the card there, Jake? Can you throw that up on the screen?
Well, this is the problem with the 0-0. It's like you don't know anything about the other guy, right? I mean, two guys could be 0-0, but one guy might be a purple belt. The other guy might not even know what jiu-jitsu is. And then you have, this sort of a matchup, but they're both 0-0. But at least once you get like a little bit up to card, like especially what we saw at the co-main, both of those guys kind of knew each other from the scene. They kind of knew a little bit about each other. They were training specifically for each other, I would assume. And yeah, it was a good clash of styles. And
Yeah, I mentioned on the broadcast that co-main event between ZT, is it?
Yeah, ZT, yeah.
ZT and Glenn. That looked like those guys are budding on the pro level, right?
Yeah,
They're-
they could be pro.
They're high level amateurs.
Yeah.
They can take off the shin pads, take off the gloves, and they look like they know what they're doing. Everything was right. They knew how to frame. They knew how to pummel for underhooks. They were setting up their takedowns with punches.
Yeah.
The jitters, the nerves weren't quite there in the same way that you saw with some of the undercard.
Right.
And I think that's a good observation, man. I mean, at least from me, the most common mistake I saw was that sort of traditional jiu-jitsu approach to like the bottom game,
Right.
where you see guys, if you get taken down, that's one thing. But, you see guys get taken down and then they're playing guard or they're closing the guard and they're not working their way up. They're trying to like sweep and they're trying to do submissions off their back. And you can do that, but it's really tough when punches are flying and it's really hard to actually like submit someone off of your back. And you see these guys sort of conceding the bottom position and willing to play that sort of slap hands, fist bump jiu-jitsu from their back, which is a sign of people like you mentioned who've compartmentalized their training rather than fully integrating it. And one other element that I feel like, and I mentioned this several times on the broadcast, was that they weren't really familiar with the cage.
Right.
How to use the cage, how to scoot their back up against the cage, how to wall walk off the cage. Some of the guys are pretty good at reversals off the cage, like getting underhooks and changing the position and stuff like that. But you could tell some of them would have their back up against the fence and they wouldn't really know how to use it as an advantage. And oftentimes the reverse would be true. I would see guys in on double legs or single legs pushed up against the fence and they didn't know how to run the pipe away from the fence to try to get like the center position in the middle of the cage, and typical stuff that you see from like amateurs.
High-level amateurs, you'd see that stuff. I mean, 0-0 guys, like I said, these guys are probably the best 0-0 guys I've seen as a whole. These new guys that were debuting out there, they were pretty good, to be fair. I see a lot of mistakes with 0-0 guys. I mean, really, really bad stuff. Like, this was pretty good. I'm pleased with the level. That I think it's a good starting point for the scene to grow from.
What do you attribute that to? Do you attribute that to just the rising level of actual MMA in Singapore, as opposed to that sort of like thing where you have these are the BJJ people, these are the Muay Thai people, and then they decide to cross train. You get the BJJ blue belt or the BJJ purple belt that trains like Muay Thai for 6 months and then wants to have an MMA fight, but they don't really integrate the skills yet, like that kind of thing.
I think it's because it's a very grassroots production, right, or promotion. I think that the majority of the people that were selected to compete in this were already like in the community, in this on the scene a little bit. Maybe not specifically MMA, but they're training at MMA like gyms, or at least multiple martial art gyms where they have like Muay Thai and Jiu-Jitsu and maybe some wrestling here and there. So these guys already had like the prereqs for MMA, basically, right? They have the prereqs down, and then maybe like the last few weeks, they learned whatever they could in those few weeks that was MMA specific, like how to maybe stay safe from punches. You did see some of that stuff. Like guys were actually pretty good at kind of moving away from the punches and not eating too many of them and little things like that. You can tell they probably worked a few things, but there's only so much you can do in a few weeks. If it's your first fight and all you've got is a blue belt and a little bit of boxing, hey, do what you can. 6 weeks, keep at it, and when you go to your next fight, you'll be more evolved.
Yeah, I think it's a testament to the matchmaking and the skill level. And I do think that you're seeing a general trend in Singapore of people learning how to train as a whole. I mean, the thing is, if you want to be like a black belt in jiu-jitsu and you want to be, for lack of a better word, a black belt in striking and then a black belt in wrestling, and then you can be all those things, and then combining that can still be a trip, right? It can still be really, really difficult to do. And I agree with you, man. I was so impressed with the whole event. This is the best, and I'm not just saying this because I was fucking there and doing the commentary and everything. It was actually the best amateur event I've ever seen in terms of quality of the matchmaking and the quality of the opponents. They're perfectly balanced. All the fights were competitive, which is really what I want to see, because as much as I like the finishes, the knockouts, the submissions and stuff, it kind of leaves a sour taste in my mouth when you see one guy just massively over his head, and then you see a guy get knocked out, and you're a little concerned about their safety and their health because it was just too much too soon. And just to add on to that, the vibe was really good between the fighters. I mean, dude, after the event, everybody's like hugging each other. Everybody's good. All the people that fought like really vibed well. You can imagine seeing these guys compete with each other in multiple disciplines throughout the years. They may fight again. They may compete with each other in grappling competitions. They may box each other in the future. It's sort of a testament to the scene and the fact that Singapore is relatively small. The borders aren't open. So even with the Singapore Grappling Invitational, Amiral and
Harold over and over.
I mean, how many times have they competed against each other? And it's kind of fun, right? It's kind of fun because you may see these guys again competing in the future or competing with other guys on the same card. Maybe they're in the same weight class or they're nearby. They may very well see that opponent in the future or a different opponent that also fought on that event in the future. And it was a good thing. But nobody was like fucked up. Nobody was crushed. Like the vibe was good. I mean, your boy Kai Xiong probably laid down the biggest beat down on the fight, but Zidane was really nice. They were hugging afterwards, taking pictures. He looked a little bit like an elephant man with that hematoma there on his head.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll pull a picture of that up here in a little bit. But why don't we start at the bottom here, Jake? We can pull that event up. So the first one was the only one that was a little bit of a one-sided affair, right? What are the names there, Jake? I can't really see.
You got Amaral versus Jonathan Tan.
Yeah, so Jonathan Tan was the one that won that fight. And actually, I thought Umaral, is that his name? Umaral, is that how you say it?
I think so, yeah.
I mean, he I spoke to him before the event. He told me he had like 6 or 7 amateur boxing I think it was boxing or maybe it was kickboxing fights before that. So he probably the more experienced guy, but you could kind of see that and I'm speculating. And guys, listen, let me just say this in advance. As I break down this card, do not take what I'm saying personally. I'm just objectively trying to give my opinion on this. So if I say something that you feel is an insult to your skills, it's not that. I mean, we're only seeing a small. This is why you have amateur fights.
Right.
You have amateur fights because it doesn't go in your record. You can have as many of these as you want. There's zero shame in loss. I've lost many times, right? Like it's just part of the process. So if Major and I say something, it's not to be like hypercritical of you or your skill set. It's just our best objective description of what we witnessed, and that was one of those because Umar looked great on the feet,
right?
But then he got taken down and he got flattened out and then choked pretty quickly, and he was actually out. It looked like for a minute or two there. Looked good on the feet, throwing hard low kicks, but then once he actually got taken down by Jonathan Tan, you could tell he was kind of a fish out of water there on the ground.
Yeah, it's like a classic striker grappler matchup, right?
Yeah. And I saw it a couple of times. I mean, I'll say this, guys: if somebody has your back and they flatten you out, you cannot get flattened out onto your belly ever. You've got to build your base. That is, in your opinion, Major, is that the most vulnerable position in all of martial arts? Is like someone on your back with you belly down?
No. I think that maybe in the rule sets that we understand, yes. But
within the context of MMA.
I mean,
it's up there, right?
If I can still soccer kick somebody, I feel like there are other positions that are way worse.
Okay, let's say within the context of amateur MMA then.
Yeah, probably.
So it's probably up there, right?
Right. Yeah, because you can still punch from 2 directions on both sides of your hands, and the elbows are irrelevant because you can't throw elbows. So that's probably the worst because you can punch under the arms, you can punch over the shoulder, and then you can also apply the choke. So that probably leaves you the most vulnerable, and you can't fire anything back from the bottom.
Yeah, and I would say that a trend that I saw repeatedly was the younger fighters struggling with the concept of building their base from the bottom. I think that's an overall trend that we could both agree was, like being flattened out or like having an underhook from the bottom and not being able to get up to the elbow, or even just underhooking specifically, like building your base so that way you can get a little bit of height so that way you can work your way back up to the feet. It seemed like a lot of guys were content with like playing jiu-jitsu from the bottom, closing the guard, sweeps, but like building their base up and then being able to like underhook, work their way up to the feet or work their back to the cage seemed like something that I think a lot of the guys could work on.
Yeah, but I also felt like maybe a lot of these guys, most of these guys are jiu-jitsu guys. At least a lot of the names that I recognize. So I think maybe a lot of these guys were like, you know what? I got this boxer in my guard. I'm going to go ahead and armbar him. Or at least, maybe I'm not at too much of a disadvantage here. My jiu-jitsu, I believe in my jiu-jitsu. And that was true in like the early 90s. Like it did work for a while.
Yeah.
But maybe it could still work in the amateur scene, but it's obviously not the best option. At least to remove the option of being able to get up.
So let me get your take on this. Jake, do you mind throwing on the aircon or cooling it down or something? Because it's starting to get sweaty in here now that we got all these electronics running and everything. So how do you prioritize like get-ups from the bottom and then guard play? Like if you're building a fighter from scratch and knowing that MMA is their goal, right? They're not just like dabbling their toes in it, but they want to be the best mixed martial artist fighter. Where do you put your priorities in terms of like from the bottom position, sweeps, submissions from the bottom, and then sort of more traditional like wrestling get-ups or wall walks up to your feet? Like where would you prioritize those?
I kind of put them equally. So sweep, submit, and stand up, you can simultaneously attack the three of them. It works the best that way, in my opinion, because if they give you too much, if they're too much space for you to sweep or to submit, which is common in jiu-jitsu, then you can stand up quite easily, right? And if they're pressuring you down too much to be able to stand up, a lot of times that'll give you an opportunity for a sweep or a submission. So they kind of work hand in hand. But I think when people walk into an MMA training session with me, I'll probably spend more time on getting up. And then in jiu-jitsu, they can comfortably work their sweeps and their submissions without getting punched in the face. And then when it's MMA time, hopefully they've got the muscle memory to fire that off before they get overwhelmed with punches,
What about something like the close guard? Because, I mean, for me, probably for you, I mean, it depends on where you are and who trains you, but I would say that generally the most common position that people learn from the bottom when they're starting out, that white belt to blue belt is close guard.
Right.
So where would you rank that in terms of how much time you should spend training there? I mean, I'm kind of a believer that the first thing you should learn is half guard rather than close guard, because close guard just locks people on top from an MMA context. Listen, guys, if you're training in the gi and you get close guard on people, that's a pain in the ass. All the person on top can really do is open up the guard, right? But in MMA, you can punch people from there. Like if you want to close the guard in an MMA fight and I'm on top of you, I'm cool with staying there all day. A frame on the biceps, especially MMA, you can drop the elbows. If it's pro, you can drop the elbows. Yeah. So where would you spend your time, or where would you have your students go if they're on the bottom? Because I saw a lot of close guard. Is that something that you would have them do, or where would you start them?
I like the idea of close guard as a recovery position.
Yeah, me too.
Like if you get rocked, that's a good place to probably not get knocked out. Yep. You can hold on to the guy a little bit, but it's not going to win you any fights.
That's the only time I tell people to do it. It's like, oh, you get dropped, close guard's great, then you tighten up, you close off the space, try to make it tight as possible so they can't generate power on their ground and pound. But would you ever actively go there from the bottom?
Depends on the matchup, but mostly if it's major fighting major, definitely not.
Yeah, right. I mean, if you're a master, if you're an expert there, okay, but how many?
It's always relative, right?
Yes.
Damian Maia versus Damian Maia, probably still not, right?
But how many championships have you seen won off of their back? A close guard specifically.
No, but you're talking about a different thing.
But even still,
it does. Completely developed athlete that has all areas.
But if you look at the top end, you almost never.
Of course, but see it. They're also fighting other guys that are top end.
But if we're assuming that, like, where should you spend the most amount of time based on what you see work the highest percentage at the highest level?
Most of the time in MMA context, you're spending your time getting up.
Yeah.
Right. There are opportunistic submissions and sweeps that you might go for if they defend against.
Right.
The jab is to get up. You throw the jab and you see what happens. Right. You try to get up first. Because you don't have a lot of time to work there, to be honest. If it's a purple belt versus a purple belt, you're not going to submit him in that amount of time.
Right.
Especially off your back, and especially
amateur, you only have 3 minutes to work.
Yeah, and how long did it take to get you there?
Right, you're probably there for a minute, max. I mean, good luck. Yeah. I mean, I saw a few of those. There was a fight, throw up the card there. What was the fourth fight? It was Vreddy and Vreddy and who's it?
Eugene Wee.
Yeah, Vreddy and Eugene. So when they fought, man, there was literally I believe that fight was won by like 10 seconds. Right, because that third round, they were dead even. I had it 1 round apiece, and then Vreddy was like working on the back, and then he did the thing where he was punching, but the bottom guy was still moving, and then he got reversed, and then there was like 20 seconds left, and then that ended up being the end of the round. And I mean, you're literally talking about 10 or 20 seconds max where that decided the round, and it was another thing where, it's a typical thing that you want to punch, but if the position isn't secure, you can't. If a guy's moving and you're punching, you're giving up position. And if you get somebody down in an amateur MMA fight, most likely they've already had a minute on the feet, and then you get them down, a few scrambles. Like, you're dealing with 20 or 30 seconds to work. So trying to play sweeps and submissions when you're dealing with seconds, right? 20, 30 seconds max is just not a strategy that will win you the fight.
Yeah, for sure. But sometimes you're desperate.
Yeah, and sometimes that's all you can do, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes that's all you can do.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm a little bit older these days. After a couple of get-ups, I'm playing guard. Not because it's a better option, just because I'm too tired to get up.
Which could have been the case for a lot of these guys.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, it's of course a case-by-case basis. And,
Yep.
and I'm not saying it's not, but I'm just saying that, like, if you were going to, like, pick a set of skills to prioritize based on what works at the highest level, it's the get-ups, it's the wrestle-ups, it's the underhooks.
Of course, because you have to understand what positions are winning position, which positions are losing position. So you don't fight from a losing position if you have a choice. You at least go back to a neutral position, assuming you're well-rounded at everything, right? If you're back on the feet, is it going to be a neutral position, or is it going to be a huge disadvantage? I guess it depends. If you're a jiu-jitsu guy fighting a boxer, you might actually be better off just staying on the ground.
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure. Depending on the styles and the
yeah.
matchups and where you think you stand the best chance of winning. But
if stuff changes a little bit when you have these early amateur fights, right? Because you have guys who don't have maybe very much of a skill set in a particular area, so you have like this huge sort of mismatch where it might actually make more sense to do some things that you would never do at the higher levels, where everybody has a little bit of everything, right?
Yeah, I think if there was one thing I would isolate, like one, and of course, this is a general approach. It doesn't apply to everybody, but it would be the underhooking.
Underhooking.
I would say that was the thing that stood out the most to me as like a skill set that everybody needed to work on, because you would see people in the bottom position like hugging the head, for example, not really knowing how to pummel, whether they're on the feet against the cage or whether they're on the bottom in the half guard or even in the bottom side control. Like, everybody's trying to hip escape, and people kept being in like the bottom side control and hip escaping to the closed guard. And it's just not the move. You're in the bottom. If you're on the bottom side, fire that underhook, right? Shoot that underhook through. Build your base up to your knees. That's the move. Because if you're in the bottom side control and then you close the guard, you manage to hip escape back to close guard, that guy's still on top of you. I mean, it's better. It's better for sure. But realistically, like, if I'm in the bottom side control, I can control your posture by hugging you, very similar to as well as I can control your posture from the closed guard, right? I mean, I can keep you tight. We're chest to chest anyway. That's the reason why the side control doesn't score any points in IBJJF. There's not space to fire off strikes. So if we have like a minute left in the round and I'm in the bottom side and I just hug you there, it's really no different than if I get back to close guard and I hug you there. No, you disagree?
The difference would be that the person on the bottom can fight back if they're in close guard.
But I'm talking for the sake of clinching, right? Just for, I mean, but how? What are you going to do? Punch them from the bottom?
Oh,
you're going to lose that.
Submissions, you can.
But how many of those do we see? I'm just saying that, like, relative. Of course, the closed guard, you have the guard. It's for sure better than being in the bottom side control. But I'm saying you're still in a rough spot. That's all I'm saying. You're on the bottom.
The bottom is losing. Period. That's the way we run drills at my school. Like for MMA, we don't go until you re-guard. We go until you're on top. So like, it kind of takes out like this idea of like getting back to a guard is escaping. That's not escaping. That's just a tool to help you escape.
Right. Yes.
You're still in trouble.
Yeah, that's very well said, and that's completely accurate. And then the other thing is like that they don't teach in classic jiu-jitsu is reversals. Yeah. Because they don't score points in IBJJF, right?
Well, now ADCC's taken over, man. I feel like
ADCC does, but IBJJF doesn't.
No. But I think that ADCC is kind of for no-gi guys, that's going to be the rule set that you're going to see a lot more from training.
Well, why don't you go ahead and explain the difference between a reversal and a sweep for people that are listening?
So a sweep is basically like when you are on bottom and you get on top, but they were in some form of your guard. A reversal is just without having a guard. So I could just barrel roll you, like from a side mount, and that's considered a reversal. To me, it doesn't really matter how you do it. In my opinion, it's like, dude, now that you're on bottom. Your face is going to suffer the same consequences, whether or not it was a beautiful technique out of a textbook or if it was just some brute strength. The problem's still the same, bro. Like, you're on bottom now, So that's why I like the ADCC's rules for that, because, and they also score higher for clean reversals.
Yeah, that's
which is super important. Like, if I roll you chest to chest, like, it doesn't, in a real fight, it doesn't matter if I use my legs or not. Like, you're still on bottom, man. You're in a bad position. Like, it should count the same.
That's why I stress MMA training or no-gi training. If we're in the bottom side control, I stress the underhook. Because I can come up. If I get the underhook, I can come up on a single. I can tap the far knee, get a takedown straight to the side. And that doesn't score you any points in jiu-jitsu, in the gi, in IBJJF.
Right.
Which is complete nonsense. Like, you're literally talking about a complete reversal of position. Bottom side control to top side control. If I do that, it will score you no points. I mean, that's why the ADCC rules are king.
Yeah.
And didn't see enough people...
but they also have some other rules that contradict that.
Like what?
Like, if I do a diving Kimura roll or a drop back on a leg lock, that's not considered a reversal, but I still lost position nonetheless.
That's true, which is also kind of nonsense.
Yeah, right.
And even
I
ADCC
can see why you would do that to
that.
encourage people to go for stuff, and that's fine because you're trying to work your jiu-jitsu a little bit. But if you're trying to make it closer to actual fighting, I mean, you've lost position, right?
Yeah, that's true. And there's no perfect system, right? You kind of just got to deal with what you got to deal with. But I think I spoke to Jake about this already, but this week I'm going to do some technique video. And it's going to be like specifically addressing some of the things I saw from the fights. Mm-hmm. And it's going to be like, how do you get the underhook if you're pinned down in the bottom half? Mm-hmm. How do you get the underhook if you're pinned in the bottom side? Like, just these, how do you get the fight for underhooks? How do you pummel against the cage? And even people not knowing how to, first of all, set up the punches in the takedowns, but shooting when they're underhooked. So that they don't have inside position and they're shooting on single legs and double legs when they're already, like, you're never going to get that takedown, right? Because the guy can just underhook you. Right. So doing things like clearing the hands before you shoot, which is more of a wrestling thing, but the easy way to resolve that in MMA is you just throw punches first, right? But I saw that a few times, people chase it for takedowns and they're underhooked and there's just nothing happening there. You're never going to get that takedown. And again, not me being hypercritical, just observing some things that I saw. And yeah, but I mean, it's just still, I love the event. I love the levels. Let's get to the second one here, Jake. We have, what's the second match here? June and
Sunny Low.
June and Sunny Low. That was another one that was quite interesting. Mm. Sunny Low looked pretty undersized, I would say, for that match. I think he trains with Polino.
Oh, does he?
Yeah, I saw Polino do a Facebook post today with him. So I think he's at least doing his boxing there, maybe his wrestling. So guy had good wrestling. He was able to get some single legs, look way undersized for that position. But a good fight. June was able to... June was funny, man, because he's Japanese, right? Mm-hmm. And he got knocked out in his first fight. I think it was like 6 years ago or something like that, his first ever MMA fight. And he told me up into the fight that it had been like festering in him for years, right? Like, oh, he wants to do it again because he got knocked out, and then this was his first fight after that. And I don't know if you remember, in the third round, he screamed at him, right? He screamed something in Japanese. I didn't know what it was. I said on the broadcast, it sounded like he was screaming "Korea" or something like that. But apparently, he told me afterward it was like "Come on" in Japanese. And then he told me that afterward he felt ashamed that he did that, and he felt embarrassed, and he's like, "Oh, I'm so ashamed. My parents can't watch this fight now because my ego came out." And I was like, "Dude, it's fine. You're in battle, man. Like, it's an emotional thing, right?" But you know how Japanese people are about being overly emotional. And it was so funny because he was happy afterward, and then when I saw him, he just had this like dejected look on his face, and then he's talking to Shinya, and you know how two Japanese people are when they're and he felt embarrassed by it, and I was like, dude, you don't need to feel embarrassed, man. It's just like standard practice in fights. Like, you get emotional, you overreact. It doesn't need to be a problem. But for whatever reason, he had a great fight. It was close, and he managed to edge him out in the third round. And then he just felt so embarrassed. And I'm like, listen, man, this is like a really emotional thing. And that is buried deep. When you lose like that, and you have all the insecurities that come with getting knocked out in a fight in front of people, right? And then you're trying to do it again because you want to see where you're at. And then, he just got hyped up in the third round. It was a close fight. And then he's like, come on. And then he felt ashamed about it. And I'm like, dude, he looked good, but he was so nice. I love Japanese people. Yeah.
He's always a fun character to have at any event, like whether it's the grappling or the MMA. He gives like you could see that he's really like emotionally invested in the competition, and he really like having a good time, and
which is not a bad thing.
No, it's not a bad thing.
But Japanese people are like that, though. They,
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They tend to look like it's a sign of weakness to show emotion.
Yeah.
And he said that. I'm like, dude, that is crazy. Like, you had a good fight. Like, don't feel that way. But, you know,
Look, man, I love to see a person like have their emotion come out when they fight. Like, because I know what that's like too. You know, like if someone's happy, if someone's whatever, like that's genuinely them. I feel like when you're fighting like that, it strips you down to who you really are. We go through life putting on these goofy masks all day long for other people, right? But when you strip us down to our core like that, we're just who we are, and you can see it sometimes in the fight. Like,
it's real.
yeah, it is. That's why I feel like it's such a unique bonding experience to fight with somebody else, because it's like just two people stripped down to their core. You know, none of that like facade that you carry through your daily life or acting tough. None of that shit matters anymore when you're in the cage. You know.
Well, I told Keon that, and maybe you can pull up. I think Keon fought Aloysius. Dude, I'm sorry that I mispronounced your name. Everybody was shitting on me. Can you pull it up there, Keon? Zoom in there. How would you say this name, Major? Please, just so I don't feel like an asshole. Everybody told me I was mispronouncing this guy's name, and dude, I'm sorry.
What's it, Kenyan?
No, go up a bit.
Wait.
Top, a little further up, Jake. To the top right.
Sorry.
Kane?
No, this Keon reading. And how would you pronounce the other guy's name?
Aloysius.
Say it again.
Aloysius?
You see, you say it like me. You say it like an American.
Okay.
Apparently, it's Aloysius. Aloysius. I can't say it. How would you?
Aloysius.
I've never heard this
How are you saying
name.
the other guy's name?
I was saying Aloysius.
Aloysius?
How are you say it?
Aloysius?
You're saying this?
No, I said Aloysius.
Aloysius.
I don't know why.
No,
Dude,
but how
I've
are
met
you?
several people here with that name, and
I've never said. I've seen it, I guess, written, and I've just never said it. And for whatever reason, listen, dude, I'm a hillbilly, man. I come from the sticks, dude. I don't know how to say shit, so I apologize to you for mispronouncing your name. I got like 5 people, and I was really confident about that name. There were a lot of names on that card that I was not confident saying. That one, I thought I had it in the bag, dude. So I'm really, really sorry about mispronouncing your name. I'm gonna work on it because I know you compete, and I know. I've heard people mention you to me in training, so like your name's gotten around. I'm sorry, say it again. Slowly. Say it slowly, you asshole. I know you're gonna fuck it up. Say it slowly.
Aloysius?
Slowly, syllable by syllable.
Aloysius?
Okay, yeah, that's right.
I don't know. He's probably both wrong. He's probably over there like...
That's not my name.
But anyway, my point is that I was talking to Keon after that fight. By the way, another name I would have mispronounced had he not told me how to pronounce it, because he spells it Cain.
Yeah, that's Kane, isn't it?
Yeah, it's Keon.
It's Keon.
He came and told me, because I would have definitely fucked it up if he hadn't. But, he was one of the few people there that got finished in that fight, and he'd only been training for like a year and a half. And, and him and Aloysius. Did I say it right? That was okay. No, it wasn't. Sorry, dude.
We'll go with it.
But he told me that, he's feeling whatever about it and everything. And I was like, listen. But they were being buddy afterward, and they were talking and taking pictures. And I was like, listen, this guy you're going to have a bond with this. This is his first fight. Right. So you're going to have a bond with this guy that you can never replicate, right? Like the first time you fight somebody, you remember the first guy you fought, guaranteed.
Oh, yeah.
I remember the first guy that I fought. Like that's a bond that you never forget, and you really can't put words into what it's like to go to war with somebody, right? To have the battle with somebody. And listen, you're training for a year and a half, you're going to get that. Like all these people that lost, you showed up, right? I mean, you went there and you tested yourself, and that's really the secret. So for all the fighters in there that are dealing with a loss and everything, and nobody seemed too upset about it, which was really good. But it's just part of the process. Nobody's undefeated in this game, because even if you're good in the fight, you're getting smashed in the gym by so many people.
Right.
You know what I mean? But yeah, it was like that. And he had that. These guys all have shared a bond now and shared an experience together that it's like the first girl you have sex with, right? It's like losing your virginity. Yeah. You remember that one. There might be some weird drunken nights in between where you kind of forget what's going on. Mm-hmm. But that first one, you never forget it. So you got a bond there for the rest of your life.
Tell you what, if I ran into the girl, the first girl that I had sex with and the first guy that I fought, and I saw them both in the bar, I'd buy the guy a beer.
Who are you going to hug? Who are you going to hug first?
I'm going to go over to the guy. Hey.
Exactly, man.
We shared such a special moment.
Yeah, I mean, literally, given the, like one is, they're walking out the door. They're walking in 2 different directions, and like there's a train splitting beneath you, and you can only make it to one. Where are you going?
Yeah, exactly. Towards the first guy I fought.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying, man. So, all right, dude. So, yeah, let's get to the third one here, because the third one, in my opinion, was the fight of the night. It was a damn good fight
Oh,
between
that fight was insane. Yeah.
Biraj and Muhammad Faraz. Yeah, Biraj Shindi and Muhammad Faraz. Damn, that shit was razor close. I actually rewatched this, and no disrespect to Muhammad Faraz, because by the way, he was super nice. Like, he was so pumped, and he was telling me all this really great story. But actually, after I rewatched it, I kind of thought that Biraj Shindi won that fight. I rewatched it last night. It was so close. No one really lost. Who did you think won? I'm curious. It's tough to say, right?
I felt like they were around a piece going into the third, and
Me too.
I felt like Biraj actually did more that third round, but Faraz,
Got up at the end there,
yeah, he did
rallied and
that last
flurried.
15 seconds of enthusiasm and theatrics. A lot of times will steal the judges, steal your round on the judges' scorecards. You know. So,
But I mean, just be fair.
Yeah.
Did you think that Biraj had done enough?
yeah, you could give it to either one of those guys, and I'm not mad.
Yeah, me neither. So
Yeah.
it was one of those ones that was. I mean, especially when you're dealing with 3-minute rounds.
Yeah.
I mean, it was so close. But I rewatched it again last night, not live, and I saw more angles. Right, because when I'm
Yeah.
there, I don't have a monitor in front of me, so I'm sometimes the pillars of the cage are blocking the view, and I don't see every exchange. I'm really close, but when I saw it with like all the angles and everything, I maybe thought Biraj had edged it, but I could probably watch it again tomorrow and think the opposite.
Yeah, it's hard because whenever if you have, let's say you have the best first 2.5 minutes, and the other guy has the best 30 seconds at the end. A lot of times that's what's left in the mind of the judges, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, so I guess it's how you want to score, right? At the end of the fight, who was doing more at the very end of the fight when it stopped, right?
Yeah.
You have to go with Faraz. But,
yeah. I mean, because actually, but yeah, I was more, I think, in the moment, hyped about Firaz rallying in that last, like, getting up to his feet, and then,
Right.
but realistically, Biraj had him down,
Yeah.
and had his back and stuff, and was throwing some ground and pound there while he worked his way up.
Yeah.
But that's one of the most tightly contested amateur fights I've ever seen, though. I mean, you're dealing with, again, this one and the next one, the one I mentioned earlier, you're dealing with like 10 to 20 seconds of difference,
Right.
being the main factor there. Actually, I'm sure Alvin won't mind. Can you pull up the last minute of that fight, Jake? Yeah. Let's take a look at this. I'm sure those guys will enjoy us breaking it down, and I'm sure Alvin won't mind. And let's take a look at that. Actually, I'm gonna take a break because one, I gotta pee. Two, I gotta get some light on your face, dude. Your black ass skin is not showing up on this fucking camera, and it's your fault for being your skin color. It's 100% you.
It is a choice.
So yeah, exactly. It is a choice. So, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be right back. I want to put some light on Major. I'm gonna pee, and I'm gonna also crack another beer. So we will be right back. And we are back. Sorry. Flip that over to Major. Look, you can see some details on his face now. You don't just look like the whites of your eyes anymore, Major.
That is
Hashtag no
preposterous.
racist. No racist, okay?
Yeah.
Can't be racist if you're friends. That's the rule. So we're back, and what I wanted to do now is actually bring up the event. Alvin, I hope you don't mind. We're going to fucking poach your shit, dude. We're going to put it over here. We can actually break down some of this, because actually Major mentioned talking about ZT and Glenn at the end. We can talk about that fight a little bit too, but first let's take a look at the last maybe minute of this fight. I mean, we can even break down the last round. It's only 3 minutes, and see what we think here, because it's a good, real close round, and I'm sure we can point out some things that would be interesting for the people that want to train and improve their skill set here. And then this will also allow us to talk about some of the other fights, and maybe the crucifix position and the hematoma on Zidane's face at the end of that, because that was brutal. Yeah, so Jake's gonna pull this up.
Is it this one? The
dude with the beautiful beard, Biraj. You have a beautiful beard. I'm jelly, dude. You got an amazing beard, and we'll pull this up on the main. Is this third round?
Yep.
All right, let's take a look at this.
So yeah, context going into this one, everyone can kind of agree it was one apiece.
Yeah, it's definitely one apiece. One apiece. And pull that thing right up to your face if you don't mind there, Major. Otherwise, our sound is going to be all over the place. All right, let's take a look and see what we got here. We'll kind of lay the commentary down over top of it if Jake can figure out one of the trillion things he's doing at the moment. We expect a lot from you, Jake.
There's a lot going on.
You always deliver, though, dude. I'll be honest with you. You always deliver. Biraj and Firaz. This is round 3. So if you're listening to this might be a good one to watch, because we're really going to break down. You can see the live fight here.
I'm quite excited. I've not seen this.
Oh, this was a banger, man. This was a banger. So let's see who we think won this third round, because Major. Oh, there's a nice head kick there, partially blocked.
Sorry, Luke. Who's who?
B-Raj is the one with the beard. Mohammed Faraz is the guy clean shaven.
B-Raj is red corner. Faraz is blue corner.
Yeah. And the first round here.
That is a nice beard.
That is an excellent.
That's
beard.
the first thing I'm noticing.
I know. As a fellow bearded guy, I'm jealous more than anything. Now, see, this is where it's going to get interesting because I'm pretty sure B-Raj spends a lot of time on top. And originally, I thought Mohammed Faraz pulled it out, but I may have been a victim of the moment here because as I rewatched it, I'm not exactly sure what I thought about it. But it is one of those things, Major. You're right. It was so tightly contested. And see, right, there's a nice frame there.
So really, you can't give an advantage to either person at this point, right? I mean, Faraz has got him against the cage, but if he doesn't do anything with it, that doesn't really score.
And this is the thing with amateur MMA. I mean, this is already a minute down, and they're pretty much just clinching here.
Yeah.
And there's the first takedown right there, and that's B-Raj that ends up on top. Is that right?
No, they're still in a dogfight.
Oh, they're still in the dogfight. Actually, B-Raj is on the bottom here, got back up to his feet. As Faraz, that managed to get the takedown, but they were still basically 50-50 there.
Yeah, you'd have to give him a little bit of an edge for aggression because he did go for it.
Right. Yeah, I'm really interested to talk to you about this. I think the next time we should do 3, me, you, and Fuzz. I think 3 commentators.
If I didn't have a guy competing, I would have been up there at the table with you.
Yeah, I think next time that would be the move because they do it in the UFC all the time. They got 3 commentators. Yeah. So let's say that we're still even up to this point. You can maybe give a little bit of an edge to Mohammed Faraz halfway through, even more than halfway through for the aggression. So now we're in the last minute here. Still anybody's round for sure. And let's see how this last minute looks. This is what I wanted here.
Okay, so now that kind of balances out the aggression. He went 4 shots.
And there's the takedown.
And now he's successful with his takedown. So now and he's in a good position as well. So
he's in the side control.
Yeah. So now I'd say that Biraj is winning this fight. Biraj.
Yeah, and still stuck here. I mean, he's got 15 seconds or so of top control. But what I will say about Mohammed Faraz, man, he rallied at the end. He really sucked it up. Almost mounted here.
Spoiler alert for everybody watching this for the first time.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. And there's 30 seconds left, okay? There's 30 seconds left in the round. B-Raj with the takedown to the side control. Gets up to his feet. Jumps on his back.
That's a nice one. Ooh, yeah.
And see, this is where he rallies. There's 20 seconds left. See,
those are big, though.
Yeah, those are big.
Huge, yeah.
Now, both guys...
He's not backing down.
I mean, both guys sitting here slinging.
But in
10 seconds left.
You got to say Faraz had the better. You got the better of that exchange.
He throws the wheel kick there at the end, and they duck. Man, it's tough, hey?
That's a tough one, right?
So they were 1-1 going into that.
They were 1-1 for sure. For sure. I think it's fair to say they were both 1-1. I don't know, man. What do you think?
I feel like we need to run that back.
Yeah, yeah. Hey,
you guys listening out there?
Lion City,
run that back.
Lion City, B-Raj. Hey, I'm not honestly, man. That might be a good call.
Yeah.
And you know what? I know Alvin was thinking about doing some amateur belts.
Yeah.
I mean, because the fight was so good, it was so competitive. I have no issue with them making like an amateur belt, throwing those guys back in there in 6 months. Alvin told me that they're planning on doing the next one in like April, end of March, maybe April. I'm not mad at a rematch of that. Would you be mad at a rematch?
Not at all. Love to see that.
Well, okay, so do you value the aggression? I mean, to be fair, not much landed, but for sure he was pushing it. Do you value the side control, the little back take there, more than the flurry of aggression? That not a lot landed there at the end.
Well, nowadays in unified rules, it's supposed to just kind of be like a takedown. Is supposed to just be like a change of position, and it's not supposed to be so scored inherently heavy on its own. You know,
there wasn't much done with it other than the takedown itself.
Right. And to me, another thing I think about too is if they're able to kind of pop up without too much damage, then that kind of takes away a little bit of its effectiveness. Or it didn't really do much for the fight. You know what I mean?
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
No. From my point of view, you're talking 2 grappling exchanges, so they both got 1 apiece in the grappling exchanges. So then it does come down to that last 15-20 seconds.
I would say that here's the thing. I would say in the grappling exchanges that Biraj actually had a better grappling exchange because he was able to finish the takedown, land in a dominant position, control that dominant position for some period of time. Wasn't able to mount much of a offense with the strikes, but he did finish a takedown. He did get a good dominant position.
Can you go back, Jake? Did Faraz land anything in that last 15 seconds there?
Oh yeah, the first 2. He landed a couple of really good ones in that exchange. The first 2. That's why I think that maybe he stole that round. With those the first 2 punches that he threw off the break there.
Yeah, I think that's what the judges and the crowd kind of acknowledged as well.
Yeah.
And nothing else, the get up and the flurry toward the end, that wheel kick at the end was pretty sweet. He didn't land it, but it looks hella good to the judges, right?
Yeah, that's like what you do in any close fight, at the end of a close fight, you throw
Throw
a
a crazy attack that looks really dramatic.
Stephen Bonner, Forrest Griffin, right?
Yeah, the
You just
fucking jumping.
throw a wheel kick at the end when everybody's tired.
Yeah.
Okay, you want that last minute back?
Yeah, let's last 30 seconds.
seconds.
Last 30 seconds.
Well, no, you're having it from a minute. No, I can't.
That's okay. A minute is fine.
I think it was two. I think if I'm not mistaken, I think Faraz landed 2 really good shots right here out of the break. Not this one, but the last 30 seconds, and then Biraj landed a really nice one too. So
I mean, it's really so close. You can't, like, no one lost. And this is what we said to both guys, right? Really, nobody lost this fight. Everybody won. The people watching, both guys.
But in a second, he's a beautiful reversal once he gets back up off the cage.
Okay, well, I mean,
that's a clean takedown.
That's a clean takedown straight to the side control. Now, if we were to say one thing that Biraj could have done better is just more aggressively get on top of Faraz when he got the separation here. Because if he had stayed on top the last 30 seconds, he would have won. He would have won the fight
for sure.
So there's this moment here where
he got a little bit hasty.
See some ground and pound here too, though.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
now right here, if he'd gotten on him, see that little push. See if he closed the space right here.
Yeah. Oh, he did though. I mean,
he did. I guess
it's that break right there.
Oh
Bop,
yeah, right.
bop.
Yeah,
those are the two right here that won the fight.
Right there, even there's a little bit.
Tags him 3
he
times.
comes back.
Oh, you know what?
But then he gets tagged. He gets hit back.
Yeah, you know what?
I mean, it was a good exchange, but
now I'm thinking Muhammad Faraz got the. I told you if I watched it again, I'd go back and forth. It was that close.
Yeah, that's.
And the flurry there.
I mean, I'm giving it for the wheel kick. I'm telling you.
Yeah, that's it. That's all it
I
took.
don't know, man. I think to be able to duck a wheel kick that close is pretty impressive too.
It was both some Matrix shit right there.
Yeah.
Well, listen, guys. I mean, it was my fight of the night. You could make an argument for Glenn and ZT there as well at the end, but either way,
I like this. I like this fight. It's a little bit more raw.
Yeah, it's more raw. Yeah, right. Yeah.
It's what you want to see in an amateur card.
If you saw that in a street fight, you'd be like, "Oh shit!" Like if that was 2 dudes fighting at the bar, you'd be like, "Oh fuck!" Like that shit would be on like World Star, and it would be, you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that was a dope fight, man.
That was a dope fight, and
they gotta run that back. I'm gonna go ahead and say they gotta do 2 out of 3.
Run it back. Yeah, 2 out of 3, man.
They gotta do 2 out of 3.
Good stuff, guys. Really good stuff. I mean, dude, the people in the gym were mental. Like everybody was screaming.
Yeah.
Like it was absolutely mental fight. So great stuff. I don't want to belabor the point.
I will pay money to go see them have a rematch so they can have it as a pro fight and do 5-minute rounds.
Then if they had 5 minutes, you would start to see some stuff come to the surface a little bit more. Things like conditioning, the elbows on the top position.
Yeah, that last little exchange where Biraj was on top, he could have dropped elbows right there. Mm-hmm. And if he had another 3 minutes to work, he wouldn't have had to rush them out. Like he was,
yeah, exactly.
Or 2 minutes to work, yeah.
So, I mean, either way, guys, great fight. Let's move on, though. Let's move on to the next one here. We'll get through this guard, and then we're going to talk about Will Chope's circus fight in a little bit, where he fought 2 people at once, because we forgot to do it a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
All right. So what? Because the next one was really good, too. I mentioned it earlier. The next one was...
Eugene Wee, was it?
Yeah, Eugene Wee and Vreddy. That was another one that... another one here, Jake. If you on your own time, if you can go to the last, same thing. I mean, we can watch the last round there because this was another one that was 1-1 going into the 3rd round, and Vreddy had him, man. He was on his back in the last, I think, 30 seconds of the round, and he ended up trying to punch when the position was a little sketchy, and then Eugene ended up getting on top and then finishing there. And again, you're dealing with 20 seconds difference that made or break this fight. And, it's that old, I mentioned it on the broadcast, the adage of position over submission. Mm-hmm. That's kind of a BJJ thing to say, but I say this to my guys all the time. If there's one thing I can tell anybody that's starting MMA specifically, it's that in MMA, if you're on the bottom or even on top, if you're not moving, you're getting punched, right? If I'm on top of you in any facet, like if you stop moving, the ground and pound is coming in. Once you start moving and trying to stand up, then I have to control you. Right, I can't punch you when you're on your way up because you're going to stand up and get away. So I'm forced to control you. It's going to keep my hands busy trying to control the position rather than punching you. And this was an example of the action was moving, and instead of him trying to control the position in the last 30 seconds, which would have won in the fight, he tried to punch from there and ends up getting reversed, and that was it. That was the end of the fight here.
I remember this one. Let me have to even play this for me so I can see.
Just do the last round. I mean, we can do.
So this is what 1-1 again?
Yeah, 1-1 for sure going into the 3rd round.
Oh.
Do your thing, Jake.
Here we go.
So, guys, Vreddy and Eugene, this was another one. I mean, another great fight. I was exhausted by the end of these first 5 fights. I mean, I'm losing my shit. And by the end of it, I was like, oh, fuck, I feel like I just ran a marathon. I was so tired from just the hype, the hypeness.
Yeah, I had like an adrenaline dump when I got home.
Oh, yeah, me too. I literally just sat there, like, had a couple beers, sitting there, like, ugh.
And I'm not even like shouting or anything. I'm just kind of casually peeking.
But it is your guy fighting, and there's a
Yeah.
certain hype there, right?
Yeah.
Dude, I remember when you fought and I was cornering you, it was the same thing. By the end of it, I was just like, oh, my God, so exhausted. So we're here in the third round. Major, can you pass me a beer out of that bag, dude? I'll take whatever trash you throw my way. Oh, big one. Attaboy.
No,
Yes.
just Major's camera.
Sure. Okay, no worries. Okay, so here we are in the third round of Eugene Wee and Vreddy. Okay, so 1-1 going into this round. And Vreddy, I believe, was really winning it. Nice jab there. I'm commentating this for the second fucking time in 2 days.
Yeah. Yeah, Brady's coming forward.
Oh, that was nice. It was a check hook, right? It looked like a check hook
Both
there.
guys got some sneaky counters, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They are.
Game is fucked, too.
Yeah, they are. I was just about to say they are just standing and going at each other.
Dude,
when they start exchanging.
Eugene in the corner looked like a serial killer. He looked like he was ready to fucking murder somebody. I looked over at him, and like when he's just sitting there in the corner, he's just staring across the cage. I was like, oh my God, this guy might kill somebody. Vreddy with a nice left hand there. I mean, they're both scrappy as all hell. Yeah, this was a good one. Did you catch this one, Major?
I think I caught pieces of it. I watched it when I got home, but I was up and moving around and doing stuff.
Yeah. You got a family and shit, unlike me.
Oh, nice
Eugene gets on top here. So that's the first minute. So you got to give Eugene the first minute here.
Oh, for sure. And he's landing some sneaky strikes as well. I feel like Eugene picks his shots a little bit better on
Yeah.
the feet. He doesn't throw as much volume or as much aggression, but he picks really nice ones.
So we got Eugene. Okay, so we're halfway through this first round.
Oh, this is interesting.
But see that hug in the neck here, I want to see him frame and dig that left underhook instead of hugging the head like that. This is the thing I kept seeing throughout the fight is people hugging the neck there instead of framing with the forearm or shooting that underhook. I like to do the Philly shell from there. Put my hand on my belly so I can shoot that underhook through.
It's really hard if you're in a topside crucifix, especially against the cage.
Crucifix, yeah, it's tough. Is this the third round, Jake, or the second round?
Yeah, third round.
Okay, well, maybe I called this wrong. Because right now, Eugene's...
But right now, there's quite a clear winner in this.
Worked his way up, and there's the reversal. So Vreddy now gets on top. Now, here's what I'm talking about. Okay, so you see the position's not secure. He managed to get the hook in there, and he's punching here. Now, watch this. Watch as he starts to reverse. He's going to start punching here instead of really locking down. See, watch this. He keeps going. He's going to keep going as Eugene starts to turn inward.
He should get the mount right here.
See that? See the punching right? Yes, he needs to kick over and take the top position.
See, this is kind of like a jiu-jitsu habit sometimes.
Yeah.
You see guys, they'll overcommit to the back and then they'll get reversed like this. It wasn't even if he tried to control the back, it was too far gone. He should have come over on top.
Yeah, exactly. And he's still choosing to punch there or try to maintain that back position. And then a little bit of space here. Vreddy works his way up to the feet. 15 seconds left. Pushing the pace, and here we go again. So another close one, but in retrospect, I think Eugene definitely had more top control time than that. I just remember thinking that back position there at the end, he could have finished it there. Okay, Jake, that's good. But yeah, it's that positional thing where, especially in amateur, you only have such a little amount of time. And as soon as you lose a position, a scramble ensues, that's a third of the round gone, right? Because it's just like, imagine in jiu-jitsu if I was like, okay, you got a 3-minute round, go. How many people are you going to submit with 3 minutes? If you have to do a takedown, and if you...
Yeah.
It's going to be tough, right? But another good one. Both guys 1-1. Eugene got the takedown. Vreddy got the reversal, got the back. He should have taken them out there instead of punching. As he started to turn inward, take that top position rather than punching. But
yeah, like I was just saying earlier in the podcast, like you have to think top to bottom more than the positions within top and bottom. Right, staying on top is more important in MMA than putting yourself in a position where you can be put on bottom.
Especially when you can get the mount. I mean, dude, the mount in MMA. People, what's your opinion on this, right? Because it's always been a trend that I've seen through. I mean, I've been doing jiu-jitsu for 15 years, right? People don't tend to like the mount because it's a little bit, in my opinion, inherently less stable than like the side control, where you have the chest on chest. But in MMA, when you can punch from there, like if you think of, like Luke Rockhold and Chris Weidman or something, right, where you can really drop bombs there, and the only alternative to get away from it if you've got a good mount is to turn your back. Like the mount position in the gi, it's I think even better because you can cross collar choke, you can do a lot of different things.
And they
there,
can't heel hook you when they push you off.
Yes, exactly. They can't heel hook you.
Yeah.
They can't do the kipping escape or something like that to get out.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean the mount. Would you? I mean, of course, the back is king, right? But I almost prefer the mount in MMA.
Yeah.
If people try to turn the back, I'll try to lift the elbow and just keep it there, right?
I just let them spin.
You
You can go back to mount. Because I feel like, okay, if you're talking about just a standard mount, it's okay, I guess. But there are different
Mount
variations.
with submissions only is different than mount with strikes, right?
Well, the posture is just going to be different in both guys if you got strikes, right? You've got to kind of keep your hands up. It's hard to put your hands on my hips. And if you do, I grab you and I can grab your hands when you go to put your hands on my hips and then throw elbows over the top.
And if you commit two hands to like hip escape from the mount, you commit two hands to that, all of a sudden now you're getting elbowed, you're getting punched in the face.
You're going to have to do it anyway.
Yeah, exactly. You have to do it, but it's not good.
You can eat 3 or you can stay there and eat 30.
Yeah.
So
I mean, there's some positions.
Those are your choices. You're eating something.
Yeah, there's positions in MMA where you just have to accept that you're going to eat a few in order to escape.
Yep, shouldn't let him mount you.
Yeah, exactly. As Kurt Osiander would say, you fucked up a long time ago. Right?
You're going to have to eat something to get out of this.
Yeah, man.
Most likely.
All right, so let's hit up the next one, dude. What do we got here? Hold on, I can do this. Oh, no, sorry, we have one more.
Okay.
This was another interesting one. Aaron Sim and Kenyan Tan. I kept saying this on the podcast. Aaron was like he almost reminded me of like a Johnny Hendricks or something, like a bullish wrestler that swings overhands to close the distance with some nice leg kicks from the outside. But that Kenyan Tan, man, when he was able to get into the boxing range, I've never seen an amateur fighter so confident to throw flurries from the mid-range. Like Kenya or Aaron did a really good job of kicking from the outside, and then when he got close, he was really good with his wrestling. He was able to secure a couple takedowns, but that mid-range, that specific boxing range, Kenyan 10 was totally free to throw like 4 or 5. He almost like Max Holloway-ish. He would just pepper people with volume. The knockout power wasn't really there. He was a thin guy, but he was just overwhelming them with flurries, and it was really, really impressive to see. You don't often see guys that comfortable in the mid-range. He must be a boxer because he looked really good. But that was a really interesting fight because it was whoever was in their range was more successful, and it was like plain to see, like clear, black and white. Aaron was really good from the outside with his low kicks, and then he would throw looping punches, and he was really good from the clinch. But in that mid-range, Kenyan would throw like 4 or 5 in a row every time, just 4 or 5, 4 or 5, 4 or 5. And by the end, Aaron was so tired because he had that explosive, like winging overhands that like Kenyan ended up winning, but he probably could have maybe finished him there if he just put that flurry on at the end. But that was another one that was like, I think 1-1 going into the third. Damn close fights, like really, really good stuff. Fuck it, dude. Throw the last. We'd do this all day, dude. Throw that last minute or the last 3 minutes there of that final round. You'll see exactly what I'm saying because you're an expert of ranges as well, and understanding what you see. And let me get your take on this because this is one of those things where if you can get into your range, if you're proficient there, you can really, really win fights like that. Is round 3?
Yeah.
So I think I'm pretty sure I had this 1-1 going into the third as well. And watch Kenyan's flurries and watch Aaron swing these overhands and then close it. But kicking on the outside, see, that's what he likes to do. But watch these mid-range strikes from blue corner, from Kenyan, the tall, lanky guy. And see, so Aaron's winning up close in these clinch battles. And from the outside, he swings overhands and low kicks. But in the mid-range, I was really impressed with Kenyan's ability to just throw these flurries. But you can see Aaron tired, hands on his hips. I think a little bit of a
groin strike
of
there.
the old testicle kick or testicle knee.
nothing works.
Doing the jog there, the little ball jog.
Nothing works when you get hit in the balls like that. You can try jumping, you can try burping, you can try putting your head between your legs. It's just
nothing. You just got only time. Only time will heal all those wounds. Well, I was saying on the broadcast that Kenyan should have just sucked it up and gone because Aaron was so tired. He literally puts his hands on his knees at one point, I think in the third round. And if you see that, you kicked in the nut, you keep going, right? Because he was so tired.
Easier said than done. Those are nuts, bro.
Yeah, but I've just been kicked in the nuts so many times, I can't even.
I definitely think you can condition your balls to some degree. Yeah, it used to just floor me when I get hit.
Now it's just another day in the office.
I was like, oh, yeah, all right.
Okay, so here we go. We're back in the action. Only 30 seconds have gone by. So here's the looping things I'm talking about. Aaron from the outside. Here comes the low kicks too. He was really good at timing that. But watch the mid range here. This is when look at him throwing these combos from the mid range. And the knees here. That was the trick for Kenyan because the body work was going to get him finished here. It just stays right in his face and starts throwing volume.
See, I like how he's cut off the cage and he's using that wall. So now the guy.
Good call.
He can't draw. You can't pull. You can't pop. You can't move away in any way. He has to just kind of eat the punches and accept the fight at that range.
And it crushes your cardio when somebody's in your face that long.
Yeah, because they get to choose how fast your treadmill goes.
Yeah, exactly.
That's terrible.
Okay, so we're about halfway through the third round here.
But he's the ring general right now.
Exactly.
He's controlling the cage.
But those looping punches on the outside are still dangerous from Aaron. See that? And he is tired, man. He really sucked it up by the end here. Nice right hand there from Aaron. But in that range where he's in the boxing range, he's cutting him off again and just swarming him. See, this is what I'm saying.
Man. Yeah, he must have some boxing underneath him.
Yeah, he looks like a boxer. Hey, even here, totally willing to eat this. Look at. I mean, he's just thrown 8 punches. I think 9, 10. Gets the good underhooks here. Frames off. Gets in his face. More punches. See, right? This is what I'm saying. Look at these flurries.
I absolutely hate when that happens. I'd almost rather be hit with a really hard one. Like,
yeah,
why are you doing this?
Because when they're in your face, like that Nick Diaz style, and he has that Diaz style, like slapping combos. Yeah. But I will say, I feel like Kenyan let him off the hook here a little bit at the end of the round. I feel like he could have finished him, and I'm screaming in the microphone like knee, body, like liver shot. But see, look at him, just slips back in the mid range. Peppers him.
Yo, fair play to Aaron, though. He's still throwing back.
Oh, yeah, he did. Right. He did. I thought he was actually done at the end of the second round, but then he just steps there. Look at his hands. He's done. Oh. If Kenyan he's letting him off here a little bit. One hard knee to the body right there with the hands up, and that may well...
I mean, that maybe he's not...
Yeah, there it is. See how... Yeah, you see that? And he keeps going. But then Aaron's going to fucking throw another haymaker here and just enough to back him off.
Is this a close fight going into this round? Or
1-1.
Oh, yeah.
1-1 again. But see how he peppers him from the... He fights like a Diaz brother, right?
Yeah, that's Nick Diaz style. Like,
yeah, just eat the bombs and then just flurry. Yeah.
I would like to see him throw a liver shot underneath.
That's what I said. Yeah, the left hook to the body, the knee, even the switch kick to the liver. Another good one, man. Another damn close fight. Interesting stylistic clash there, too. That was fun. I'll see a rematch of that, too. There's a few here. I wouldn't be mad at a rematch. So damn close.
It'd be fun to mix these guys up too. Different styles. Like,
Jake, how many bantamweight and featherweight matches were there?
1, 2 bantamweight.
So that was what weight was that just now?
Was that feather?
That was lightweight.
Lightweight.
So there's no other lightweights on the card.
But these are pretty soft lightweights, I'll be honest with you. They could cut, like, I feel like a few of the bantams could go here, and a few of the feathers could go here, and a few of the lights. Yeah. To your point, they could mix and match a few of these guys here and have some other damn interesting fights.
Yeah.
If these guys are keen to fight again. And now I got this. Aloysius. Aloysius. Why can't I say this fucking name? Oh my God.
I can't remember what we said it was anymore. Like, I don't know what his name is.
I've mind-fucked you by...
Yeah, I did, and then you started saying it.
I feel like Brendan Schaub, like when he's trying to pronounce a fucking Chinese name. You know how much it drives my wife crazy when she calls him Li Jingling? Jingling. I'm just like, it drives my wife and me crazy, and here I am doing the same shit. I'm sorry, dude.
Aloysius is an English name, isn't it?
The way you said
English,
it...
I think.
Say it again.
Aloysius?
Oh, God, I can't do it. I don't know why. When you say it, it sounds right.
I've never heard the name outside of Singapore, but I think it's an English name.
I've never said it.
Have you heard the name in England, Jake?
Yeah, I think it's an old English name.
Yeah, I think so too. but that was a great fight, and shout out to both those guys, and shout out to Keon, who you know what he told me going in. I sent him a message and I was like, "Hey man, what's your martial arts experience?" And then I spoke to him again at the event, and he's like, "Oh, the only thing I did was like you know that thing that you do where you put on like suits of armor and swing swords at each other and shit." That's what he did. That's what he did. And it, like kind of like LARPing, right? But not really LARPing, because they would do like these battles where they would wear the suit of armor and they would. And I was like, "Really? You did that?" He's like, "Yeah." And I was like, "God, I wish you could." I'd be. He's like, "Yeah, it's kind of nerdy, right?" I'm like, "Dude, I'd be totally into that."
Yeah, I've
Like,
seen that before. It's pretty cool.
It's cool. Yeah. He was like, "Oh, it's kind of nerdy." I was like, "Dude, that's fucking awesome." Like, I would totally do that. Get in touch with my deep European roots.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was another one. What's his last name? So I can just not butcher it. Huang? What's his? Aloysius's last name?
Hung.
It's a little bit blurry. Is it Hang or Hung?
Hung, right?
Hung, I believe.
So he trains out of Evolve. Yeah, so good fight. A little bit overmatched there for Keon, but you know, it was his first fight. He's only been training, I think he mentioned, a year and a half. He was like, "Oh," I was like, "Oh, how did you feel afterward? You're okay, right? Not too fucked up?" And he goes, "Yeah, the worst one, it surprised me, was he hit me with a push kick to the solar plexus that almost like made me want to vomit." I'm like, "Yeah, I know. You get that front kick, goosh."
It's like the snappy kind with the ball of the foot.
Right? Yeah, he said it was the heel.
Oh, the heel.
Which is almost worse.
Okay.
Because it's so hard. And I was like, "Yeah, dude, I know. I've nearly shit myself off that one many times."
Man, if you don't see, I mean, you can take 10 of those if you know it's coming, but that one that just slips underneath, you're like, motherfucker.
Yeah, you're exhaling and your stomach isn't flexed.
Yeah.
You know who hit me with one of those one time is Matt. Big Matt, 100 kilo, fucking 50-year-old Jack Matt. Dude, he hit me with a push kick one time, and I didn't show it because I'm not going to let that motherfucker know. Right? I didn't show it, but he hit me with one time, and I was like, I might shit myself. Like, I couldn't breathe, and I'm like, I'm not... Poker face, right?
Yeah, poker
Major,
face.
by the way, has one of the best poker faces of all time, but it was one of those things, too, where I was like, I'm not going to let this asshole know that he hurt me. But same thing, that rear snap kick to the solar plexus, it's brutal. Yeah. And, yeah, he mentioned he got caught with that, and that's what kind of doubled him over, and then he got tagged a few times. And it's amateur, so the referee stopped way quicker, you know, trying to protect the guys. But yeah, it's a rough strike to absorb. Let's go to the next one. Now we're getting toward the end of the card here.
So we got Nigel Lum and Polk Eyes there.
Yeah, another one. So Polk Eye Sir is Shinya's guy. He trains out of Synergy, and this was a guy that I kept mentioning on the podcast. First of all, Kai Sir, your heart is on point, dude. But you're gonna have to work that striking reactions. Because you know, he was the only one I saw that was pretty flinchy when he got hit. And is that the first thing that you notice with beginners when they start striking, when they start sparring? Like the first bad habit you have to sort of get out of people is like turning away and flinching when strikes are coming?
Yeah, I mean, this is something that everybody has this. I say 90% of people have this when you...
Almost everybody. Beginners? I mean, they all have it.
Yeah.
Do you do drills, or is it just experience for you to start to try to kill that urge to flinch when somebody's throwing strikes at you?
There are some drills. I think it probably helps like a small amount, right? Ultimately, it's like it's a thing you're gonna have to face at some point, and you're gonna have to actually just get hit if you want to be comfortable getting hit.
So just experience, just sparring.
I mean, that's gonna be the majority of what takes that away. You can do little things, you know, like you can have. Like when guys are really new and they're just really flinching, you're barely touching them, then the little drills might help like that. But if you really get hit, though, a lot of guys are going to turn away. Even experienced guys will turn away if you haven't been sparring hard in a while.
Especially in a fight, if it's your first fight. Like in the gym, if you know your partners are taking care of you, then you might be able to stay in the pocket and absorb those strikes without turning away. But when people throw full power shots at you for the first time, like really trying to hurt you, you can have that reaction. I remember the first time it happened to me, I used to think I was such a pussy. Really, I just thought I was like weak. I was like, because someone throws a hard shot at you, and it's just your impulse to turn away. And I just remember being like, why am I like that? Why can't I just like take it and say it? But the reality is, like you said, almost everybody reacts that way.
I remember the first time I got hit in a fight. I remember thinking it was going to be like so painful, and then when I got hit, I was like, hey, that wasn't that bad.
What about the first hard body shot?
Those are always rough.
Because you don't feel the head.
Yeah.
Unless it hits you right in the nose or the eye and you get that fucking flash, or the nose and the eyes start to water and like...
It definitely hurt, but I think I was overhyping it in my head because I was like, man, if these guys are hitting me at like 50% in the gym and it hurts this bad, like when I get hit in the fight, it's going to be like twice as bad, right? But actually, like with the adrenaline and everything, I think I was just mentally prepared for a harder shot. And then I've told some of my other guys when they first fight, I'm like, you know what? When you first get, I told them that story. Like, when you get hit, it doesn't even hurt that bad. When they got hit, they're like, that was fucking terrible. What are you talking about? Like, that absolutely sucked. Like,
you're like, oh, we were not in the same place here.
Yeah. Like, their face, like, walking in, like, was kind of like, this is gonna be okay. They get hit, they're like, hey, like, looking at me like, hey, coach, what the fuck? Like, why does this hurt so bad? I was like, okay, maybe I shouldn't set your expectations at anything. I think,
well, everybody's different.
High, yeah,
everybody's sort of different with how they react to the strikes, though, right? I remember I was very flinchy for sure when I first. I mean, I was 17 or something like that when I first did my maybe 19. And yeah, but I just remember thinking that it was like a weakness in me when realistically it was just I was untrained, right? And that's such a common. It's really hard to train yourself to get over that mental hump to like stand in the fire, because if you what happens when you, and this is how I always tell my students, right? Because they often ask about angles. When you start to get better in striking,
right,
angles become more and more important. And I use like a jiu-jitsu analogy that if you and I are directly in front of each other, if you're like an open guard and I'm facing you directly, both your feet are on my hip, we're 50-50, there's no angle achieved. If you don't move and I circle around you, as I get closer and closer and closer toward your back, my angle becomes more and more and more and more dominant. You would have to be punching more and more across your body, taking away your power, and it opens up power shots to the body or to the head, right? And the thing is, when you get hit and you turn away, you're giving that dominant angle and you're taking away your power, because now if you're over here, if you're like 45 degrees, let's say, to my left, then I would have to punch across my body, which is going to be so weak that there's no real power unless I spin. Right. That would be the only way to avoid a bad angle like that, is if you throw a spin. But it's really, it does take, it's just experience, I think. So many people equate it to toughness, including me when I first started, but it is just experience.
It's that. I wonder why our natural reflexes for getting hit are such a bad reaction.
Especially after like millennia of war,
right?
Like, why? Imagine like you try to hit me with a sword and I'm like, oh god, and I turn away and you lop off my head.
Yeah. Well, like, other things make sense. Like, for example, you ever try to pull a 2-year-old to go somewhere they don't want to go? They'll drop their level. They'll make themselves really heavy, right? They'll make
like
their base
fetal.
Yeah, they'll drop the
dead weight.
Yeah, and then they make themselves heavy. And like, wow, did you take like years of judo to learn that? Or no, you just have that natural reaction, right? But if you hit somebody, they close their eyes and look away. I'm like, well, that's not very useful. Like,
Charmaine's always like that. I always make fun of her because like when we'll be sparring or something, and then sometimes I'll do the thing like Kenyan was doing there, where I'll just like get in her face and I'll just death by it, and I'm just like bang 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 bang, and eventually she'll just fetal. She'll just like collapse to the ground, cover all of her vital organs, and I'm like, what are you doing here? Like, this was like years ago, right? And I'm not like hitting her. I'm just like dang dang dang, and it's just constant, and she just like gets overwhelmed, and then boom, goes to the ground, fetal position. And yeah, it's just because you're protecting your vitals, I guess. You go to the fetal, you cover up your head. That tends to be the thing, though. I see. You're turning away your face. Yeah.
You're leaving everything exposed by doing that.
But realistically, what you're doing that is
no threat to whatever's attacking you.
But you're taking away your face, you're taking away your heart, you're taking away your stomach, right? You're taking away the front side, the vital organs, to cover everything up in that fetal position. There's some. I feel like evolutionary.
If we evolved with unified rules, I suppose not allowed to strike the spine. Yeah, can you imagine? Because if you're covering your face, but I hit you in the spine, you're never feeding yourself again. You know what I mean? Like,
fair enough.
Yeah,
but yeah, which is weird. But you're also protecting your throat, and you're protecting your heart, and you're protecting your abdomen.
See, the most dangerous places to hit a person are in the back of the head, the spine.
But
go ahead.
Well, your eyes though, like your eyes are so shit and useless
and
at being
throat,
protected.
And your
heart.
heart.
But you think about your eyes. Like in the fights today in the UFC, eye pokes keep happening. Like, you get poked in your eyes, you're fucked. So that's why you flinching to try and protect your eyes. Surely.
I mean, there's got to be an evolutionary basis for it, right? It's certainly not random.
I also don't understand why we knock out. Like, how is that going to help me in this situation? I could do that on my own. I could just play dead.
Yeah, it is playing dead, right?
Apparently,
why does it manually override my consciousness?
When you black out drunk, apparently that's your body going, well, we've got two options: either stay awake and die, or go to sleep and maybe I can save your life.
I'll tell you what. Let's take the bro science out of this, Jake. Can you Google why do we get knocked out? Like, what's I don't know how to Google this, but what is the self-preservation mechanism? I've heard it talked about. I should know this. You feel like I would know this, but there's definitely it does something to preserve all the I've heard something like all the blood is going to your vital organs, and it there is something I've heard. I can't repeat it, and I don't remember exactly, but I'd be quite curious about what the mechanisms are for why, if you get hit in the jaw, there's something about the nerve, right, and all that kind of shit. But I wonder what the evolutionary reason for why. Yeah, because now you're just a fucking dead object on the ground that people can
like
just
the bear's gonna be like, oh well, I'm not eating that.
Yeah.
I wonder what that is. Why do we get knocked out? Why does our body like just be like zip zap? You're done.
Could be like a natural selection thing, right? Like all of us who didn't get knocked out continued on fighting and died.
Yeah, exactly. How many times do you reckon you've been like? I mean, I guess you could say knocked out cold, but how many times do you reckon you've had something along the lines of a knockout in your life? How many times do you think you've been?
Would you count chokeouts?
No, I'm short circuited and yeah,
probably once or twice.
Yeah, I don't think I ever have been.
No.
I've been dazed. I've been stunned. I've been like, I've had the knees like get loose, but like out cold, like totally.
I'm pretty suspicious that I've been knocked out in fights that I've won.
There was not flash and woken up, like that kind of thing.
They jump on me and punch me, and then I like throw up a triangle, like one of those kind of things. Like I don't remember getting there. Like that's
you just teleported and you're in a triangle, and you're like, oh shit,
yeah. I knocked myself out in a jiu-jitsu tournament once.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Did you jump guard like an idiot?
No, I tried a flying armbar.
Oh, that's the same thing. You may as well jump guard, you fucking pussy. What are you doing?
I was jumping for a submission, bro. I saw like I was just training with Barrett, and I saw his like highlight where he did like this flying armbar.
Never trained it, saw it on YouTube. You're like, I'm going to do this immediately my first try.
Didn't even study it, just saw it once. I was like, oh, flying arm bars are possible. And then I thought about like how I do an arm bar. Like, I think we showed like that cross grip where you grip across the shoulder.
Yeah.
And then
I remember that one.
And then you rotate that way, right? The problem is when you do that and you go upside down, that grip falls off. So, but I did it with absolute confidence. I was like, if you're going to do this move, you have to do it like you mean it, right? Like, otherwise it doesn't work. So I just jumped like, and I remember like waking up.
You hit your back of the head on the mat or something like that?
I completely went upside down and just fell straight on my head.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and then I had the video of it, man. It's too bad I lost it. But I remember like when I hit head first upside down, like my legs stiffened. And then it looked like I threw up a guard, but it's just like my legs stiffened. And then the other guy jumps on my leg and he's straight ankle locking me while I'm unconscious.
Oh shit!
At least
you're like, oh, that leg is right there. It's so
I woke up and I was like, fuck, my leg hurts. And I looked down. I was like, oh shit. And then I tapped. But then you can see even the referee didn't notice it because he probably just looked at my legs and looked at the other guy attacking my legs. That's where his focus was. But I was completely unconscious. I was like stiff, like that.
Well, actually, I think that's a good testament to the fact that, as we're sitting here and breaking down these amateur fights, I mean, I just described how when I would get hit, I thought I was a pussy and I would turn away, and then you're describing a thing that you would probably see your students do, and you may have seen your students try to do a similar thing in competition, and you're like, what the fuck are you thinking? I never taught you how to do that.
Yeah.
But meanwhile, you've done it. Meanwhile, I've done it. Like, we've all done these stupid things that it's easy to say in hindsight, like, because we never taught you to do that, don't do that. But we've made all of these same mistakes that these people will make, and then maybe someday these guys will be black belts and their students will make, and it really is a thing that it's experience, and we're not coming from a place of like being on a pedestal because we've made all of the same mistakes all of these people have made, right?
Yeah, and then just doing things in the wrong order, right? So like I get back to the gym on Monday. And Barrett's like, hey, I was in the tournament. I was like, yeah, all right. Hey, Barrett, how do you do a flying armbar? I should have probably asked that first, right?
In advance. Yeah, in advance. Yeah.
So was he like, why'd you ask?
Yeah.
So check this video that I got real quick. So did you find that, Jake, on the knockout thing? Just if not, we can move on.
There's no conclusive answer.
Okay.
People are just People are also bro sciencing it online.
Okay, so bro science is the correct science in this case.
Yeah.
All right, fair enough. That's what I was hoping to hear. All right, so we're on the main event here, or the co-main.
Co-main.
Yeah.
So we're on ZT, Zentang, and Glenn.
This is probably the most technical fight of the night, I'd say.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
This could have been easily a 1FC level fight.
Have you trained with these guys before?
I never trained with anybody from Evolve. They're kind of their own thing, but I've trained with.
You trained with Glenn?
Yeah, I've seen him around. Yeah.
seen him around at the competitions and stuff. Yeah, I was really impressed with the technical level for both guys. I'll tell you what, I mentioned this on the broadcast many times. Glenn has got the timing on that low leg kick. When guys are stepping in, and the trick with sweeping out the leg like that is that the weight can't be on the lead foot. It has to be shifting to the lead foot. Like, you got to get them mid. So it's different, right? Because if I'm trying to time a low kick when you step in, I want your weight to be on your foot. Right, if I want to kick you in the calf or I want to kick you in the thigh, if I want good timing on landing the impact, I want your weight to have just put down on that foot, so that way you can't check it, right? But if you want to sweep out the leg, you want the foot to be moving forward, but the weight not actually on it, which is a really, really specific timing. And I'm pretty sure Glenn swept him with that 4 times or something like that in the first 2 rounds. He's got damn good timing on that sweeping the front leg when ZT would step in like that. And do you want to throw some of this up?
I think he fought the right way to fight a guy who's very mobile like that. And if you don't have
Glenn?
the same, because he relied more on his timing rather than his movement. Because I think ZT definitely wins the movement. Like, if they have a dance competition, ZT murders him, right? But
smoother maybe.
Oh yeah, his movement's really good. But Glenn's timing is really good, and he can make reads. He can at least he recognizes certain patterns, and he can sort of see things coming in.
And he had good timing on the kick, and he had really good timing on the takedowns as well. Because in that 3rd round, I'm pretty sure that may have been 1-1 as well, or close.
I had Glenn winning every
all
round.
3.
Yeah,
I definitely had him winning the last 2. I remember the first. No, you're right, because he managed to sweep his leg out in the.
When you finish a round with a guillotine against the cage, it wasn't locked in, but it still looks pretty dominant, though.
Yeah, you're right. But it was competitive. And,
it was competitive, though, yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And I mentioned that.
Except for that last round. That last round was...
That's when Glenn sort of took over.
Yeah.
Which is what you want to see from a fighter, right? Is like if it gets close, the one guy who, as the fight goes on, gets more dominant, then the skill really starts to show itself as the fight goes longer and longer.
I think he figured out where his advantage was. Because he on the ground, he had like really good control. Like, he was pinning, he was trapping hands, he was khabibing. He wasn't going through a jiu-jitsu meta, He was using a proper MMA meta, and like just pinning hands and keeping the guy down and landing punches, and not really trying to move into like 2 hooks in kind of back position, but just kind of riding and smashing.
Let me throw this at you, because in the Singapore Grappling Invitational that you and I commentated on, you can go back and watch that if you want. Glenn fought Kai Xiong. He competed against Kai Xiong. Would you be interested in seeing them in an MMA fight?
I don't know, man. I think Glenn's a lot bigger than Kai Xiong in for some reason.
Is he a lightweight?
But the other thing is too, Kai Xiong's now 3-0 pro.
Yeah.
And Glenn's still an amateur.
That's why I'm saying. But and another question that I had is, do you think these guys are ready to go pro?
Oh, ZT and Glenn? Yeah. Yeah, they could definitely. Like I said, this could have been a undercard.
I watched this one, and the standard was, pro standard.
Oh yeah, for sure. These are good. I feel like there's 2 kinds of amateurs out there. There's guys like figuring it out, trying it out. Like, I want to see if my jiu-jitsu works with punches coming. There's those kind of guys, and then there's guys who are like almost like professional level amateurs. Like these, I feel like ZT. The only reason they're not pro, maybe he wants to do IMMAF championship or something like that. I feel like that's the only reason these guys aren't pro. Like, or maybe they know the Olympics are going to have MMA in a few years, and they want to keep their amateur status because of that. I don't see any reason why they wouldn't be able to move into pro. They've got enough experience.
The skill level is there, but maybe the interest for that specific thing is not quite there for whatever reason. Maybe they want to do more amateur competitions.
ZT has like 1,000 amateur fights.
Really?
Yeah, he has a lot of amateur fights, and they're not even all on record. I just know that these guys. I just see their names just pop up on random cards. I'm like, geez, they're always competing. Yeah, so this guy's super experienced.
Yeah, this was one of those ones where you can just see like we both have trained eyes. I mean, I've seen fucking 10,000 fights. I mean, I don't even know how many fights I've seen at this point. Thousands and thousands, and you can see they're doing things right. They're setting up their takedowns. They're setting up their strikes. Really good at connecting the disciplines, the kicks and the punches and the takedowns. Underhooking right, learning how to stand up, framing right. Just the nuts and bolts are all there. They're at that point now where I agree with you that they're in like that pro level, and then at this point it's just really like now you're getting the razor's edge, right? You're really refining to a sharp skill set. But these guys could, I mean, 3 years of dedicated training, yeah, they could fight in one. You know what I mean? They're right there.
I think the thing about 1-on-1s, it gets deep pretty quick.
Well, at the bottom end, it's whatever. At the top end, that's when it gets deep.
But there aren't a lot of guys in between, is what I'm saying.
And they'll throw you to the deep end even if you're not ready for it.
Three fights. Who have we got next? Eddie Alvarez. What?
Yeah,
exactly.
Because you've killed the other 3 guys from Southeast Asia, so now you're going to have to fight these.
Yeah, it's so true, man. It's so true. But yeah, that was great. All right, dude, let's get to your boy. Why don't you just take the lead here? And what were your thoughts going into this? What were your thoughts on the day? And then what were your thoughts, like all things afterward?
Man, this is always like a super sort of like stressful situation because there's not everyone knew that Kai Xiong was going to win this fight. You know what I mean? The reason why is there aren't any pros in Singapore. There's not like a scene of pros. There's a few amateurs floating around. Like these guys should be pro, but they're still amateur, right? And then it's just hard to find matchups. But you know, pro is what it is. Like you have to build your record up. You have to keep fighting before you get into those big shows. You have to have enough wins under your belt to be able to still be marketable if you do take a couple of losses once you get into that big show. You know, if you go in there 0-0 and you lose 2 fights, fuck, dude, right?
Yeah.
But if you go in there 10-0 and you're 10-2, you can still be a marketable. You know, you can still make another run and have a marketable record to be potentially champion or whatever, right? Because a lot of it's the showmanship, or it's a show too, right? Pro is more, amateur is more pure. I feel it's more about pure competition. Pro is more about selling an idea of this person being, you know, having a mystique about them, right? They're unbeatable or hard to beat or something like that, right?
How many amateur fights did Kai Xiong have?
5? Let me think. No, this was his 11th fight. So he had 7 or 8. I think 8.
So this is his 11th fight.
Yeah.
Okay. So, which is, listen, I mean, he's experienced, and he's one of those guys that he's a, and again, don't take this offensively, dude. You know, Kai Xiong, you know, I fucking love you, but he's a low level pro, meaning that he's just beginning his career as a pro. I mean, he's a purple belt, right? I mean, he's been training everything the whole time, and at this point, it's all skill building. It's getting those fights, and to your point, especially in the COVID pandemic, it's really hard to find good fights for him. But yeah, I mean, to your point, did you see the video that they posted of Zidane in his training or whatever leading up to this? I think Lion City posted a video. You know, I don't know what his experience was going into this, but
he was pretty game though, to be fair.
Oh, he was game as fuck.
He came out swinging.
But that shows his sort of inexperience. And again, Zidane, dude, just listen to what I'm saying. It's not offensive to you. I'm an idiot. Like I fucked up. I started my fights too early, made a lot of mistakes, just as anyone does. And I believe this was his first pro fight, but I don't know what his experience was in jiu-jitsu. I don't know what belt, if any, he has, what his wrestling is like, what his striking like. He looked pretty uncomfortable on the feet. I mean, just he lost his balance like 3 times, throwing kicks and stuff, which is the nerves, right? It's the nerves of getting in there, and you know, a lot of stuff like that. And it's hard to gauge. I mean, he did tag Kai Xiong early on in that round, busting him right in the nose with a good shot that sort of off balanced Kai Xiong. And he's game, and he, you know, even up until that choke, he was. How many strikes do you think that dude took? It was kind of a lot. It's kind of a, again, dude, it's not offensive, but it was kind of a merciful submission from Kai Xiong, because he literally could have just sat there for 2 more minutes. If he didn't go to the head and arm and he was like, oh, I'm just going to, if he wanted to just pound him out, he, you know, I don't know how long the referee there would have allowed it to go, but he could have sit there and just pounded on him for another 2 minutes. Probably could have thrown another 30 or 40 head strikes on him.
The problem was he was fighting it. He's resisting so much.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, no, he was not.
He just relaxed a little bit. He could have gotten out of there with far less strikes.
Yeah, but the guy was game, right?
Yeah, he was game. Yeah.
And Jake, can you pull up the hematoma that he had? Because this.
Well, do you want to? Because it's first round finished. Do you want to just watch it through?
Sure. Why not? Yeah, and I'd also be curious about the punch that tagged.
It was just a jab. He just kind of walked in.
Yeah, it was him trying to. By the way, Kai Xiong's got a really good switch left overhand, and a switch cross that I really like.
He's just kind of testing the waters, you know. I think he's seeing like,
I mean, getting hit with one punch
what face does he bite on? How does he react to certain things? He just kind of came forward and just wanted to see what was going to happen. But I think, you know, if you're less experienced, you just bite on everything.
Yeah,
you just swing at everything. You bite on everything.
And that was what happened. That was the jab right there. And see, he throws an overhand so hard he nearly falls over.
I don't think that was the jab.
And that was, go back, Jake, if you don't mind. He caught him with one jab there for sure. I don't know if that was the jab that kind of off balanced him, but he definitely caught him right there. But then you see Zidane throw a punch so hard that he falls over. Like, I mean, you really can't be doing that. You got to keep balance, guys. Balance when you're striking is everything, especially in MMA when you can take down, you can do all these other things. If you can off balance somebody, so it's going to come up right here in a second. He's going to stick him with his jab, right, and it's coming up here. Dink right there, caught him with a jab coming in, and then threw the overhand and fell over.
Yeah.
That wasn't the one. It's coming up here in a second, but he tagged him there a little bit. And see, he falls down again. It's just inexperience.
You just see Kai Xiong like settle into it as well.
Yeah, that was a jab there that off bat. See, I mean, he's throwing so hard he can't even keep his balance.
He's not managing his distance. That's why he's looking for a buggy choke.
Yeah, which was interesting. Yeah. I mean, this is it's not a bad move if you're Zidane because it's something different. Yeah. And if you don't know how to handle it, if he's got it here, that is something that you probably don't see often in the gym.
He's got the body type for it too.
Yeah, totally. That long, lanky body.
I'd be so pissed if you got that buggy choke.
Could you imagine?
Well, just partly because I've been trying it every year for like the last 5 years. And
Bro, I love you. You don't have the body type for a fucking buggy choke, okay? I love you, but I mean.
So this I thought was interesting too. So he's using the topside crucifix right here, right? But he's trying to create so much space because he's still thinking like an amateur fighter where you'd have to punch. So he's posturing up so much, but in actuality, he could just hug it. He could just touch his ear, hand on the ear, and go low, and then just
the cutting ones, right, where it's just bang, bang,
rain down the elbows. But
totally.
he's creating so much space because I guess it's just all those amateur fights. He's used to having so much.
And can you pause it here, Jake, real quick? Right there, if you can pause it. Yes. Okay. So here's tagging into your point, guys. And it goes back to, I mentioned this earlier in the podcast about these guys who in the side control are hugging the neck. Now, what Kai Xiong wants to do is keep his head on the inside of that arm so he can keep throwing these punches from the crucifix, right? But as Kai Xiong separates to land these shots, if Zidane can bridge over the shoulder and swim that underhook in, he's going to be able to possibly get that far side underhook and then get up to his knees. Kai Xiong's doing a good job of using his head to get lower and prevent it, but at the same time he's sitting up to create space. That move where you're on your back and you swim over your shoulder and then you pummel your elbow in to get that underhook.
That wouldn't work from this position if Kai Xiong was doing this properly. He should be closing off the circuit with his head against his ear right here, and there'd be literally no way for him to pull that arm out.
Well, if you're doing it, if he's throwing the strikes the way you're describing them, where he keeps them short, and he's doing that, but because he's separating to create space, if he can bridge over his shoulder and pummel that underhook in, he'll be able to escape. This is a version of the underhook that I'll show when I do my technique video this week, because there's a few people who are hugging the neck from here in side control instead of framing on that bicep and then shooting their elbow through to get that far side underhook, which gives you a path to the feet, to the knees, and to possibly the single leg.
What you want to do is address the problem of the arm that's trapped by the legs first. So you want to actually bridge towards that so that you can get the angle to pull your elbow back towards your body.
Okay, Once so wait, describe what you're is there a better frame here? Describe what you're saying, Major.
So typically when you're in a topside crucifix like this, you have an arm trapped on both sides, right? So one's being trapped by the legs, the other is being trapped by the head. Your opponent's arm and head, right? So the one that you have the best chance of being able to free is going to be the one that's controlled by the legs. And to do that, you want to bridge towards your opponent.
Bridge and then suck it in like that.
Suck it in, right? Once you free that one, then you can sort of work and create enough space to maybe get the other arm out. So
in your opinion, what's Zidane doing wrong here? What would you have liked to... You would like to see him get onto his left shoulder and suck that elbow in to try and...
Right.
Now, what's preventing him from doing it? Is it just the...
I don't think he knows to do that.
Okay.
I don't think a lot of guys know to do that. It's not a super common position to be in.
Yeah, that's why I said it on the broadcast, that if your guys get somebody in the crucifix, whether it's backside or topside, you know, this is one of these funky positions that you have that no one's ever crucifixed me. You're the only person that's ever done it, and I never seen it. And when somebody does it to you and they're really good, it's just another example of these esoteric positions that if you get into that people are really proficient at, it's damn hard to deal with it.
I would say for the topside crucifix, Shinya actually does this better than I do.
Really?
Yeah, and that's kind of why I've had to figure out how to deal with it. So I'll do MMA sparring sometimes.
Shout out to Shinya.
Like, fuck, man. He just knows how to make himself so heavy.
Yeah, Shinya's a bull, dude.
Yeah.
Shinya's a bull on top for sure.
So,
but I said you could tell straight away as soon as Kai Xiong got in that position that Zidane was like, I can't get out of this.
Yeah,
I'm staying here.
First time I was in that position, topside crucifix, I think I was probably a black belt, and I was like, "Hey, wait, what?"
Yeah, what's this?
Like none of my normal stuff works here. Like this, everything's changed. It's like when somebody throws a worm guard on, like all of your passes are different now. Like they don't work anymore. You have
what is this sorcery?
Yeah, you have to do some make some adjustments. Yeah.
All right, let's keep going here because the hematoma shot is coming. Now
it's already starting to show.
Oh, is
See
it?
how his back's
Yeah.
flat? So he should be pulling his arm right there.
He tried to turn in.
Yeah.
But he's trying to get to that shoulder. I think the right arm is the problem here. I mean, it's both, right? You know, it's both. I mean, you can get to a good position on
The
both.
right arm has opportunity in this situation because he's
on his shoulder.
Yeah, he's allowing him to have that space, and it does come over sometimes. That's how he ends up getting hit with the head and arm choke.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Good point. Yeah, good point. Really interesting.
So right here, boom. Now see right there.
See, he needs to pummel that in. He's going to like a Kimura grip here.
He immediately closes off that space though.
Yeah,
when
good.
he
No,
swings that.
Kai Xiong saw it straight away.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, I mean, once he starts,
So
I would like to see him get his head
put
to the
that
mat,
back
though.
over here. Yeah, okay. Now let's go back to this.
And then
So-
he's going to trade back and forth between. Oh shit! Oh, you can already see the pause it if you find the right moment there, Jake. Yeah, you can already see the hematomas
Oh no, I just
starting.
missed it. You can see it starting to grow. Oh,
Yeah,
Jesus.
that shit is nasty, dude. That's
Like, do you think there's a?
oh yeah, right there, and he's just fucking. he's
Kai Xiong
pushing
just keeps
it.
hitting him on it.
Yeah,
Do you think there's something over here with the ref can see he can't get out of this position?
but he's still moving, right? And it's
Yeah.
pro fight, right? It's not an amateur. They're not going to stop
I get
it
what
early.
you're saying, but he can't get out from.
Yeah, at a certain point, it became
Yeah.
clear. But this dude is tough, man. He did not stop working the entire time. And even that choke, he didn't really stop until he was almost out.
Yeah.
Like, it looked like he may have been out there at the end of it. This Zidane dude is tough as nails. He needs to build his techniques. He needs to keep training. I always get a little nervous when I saw that the gym that he represented was independent.
They had a gym listed before, then they changed it to.
I wonder what the story of that. But there were a few
Yeah.
guys that were like independent.
Yeah, some of them were like from pretty big gyms.
I mean-
maybe they didn't get their coach's permission to.
I
Take
mean,
the
Juggernaut. There was a
fly.
guy that was on Juggernaut who said he was independent, and then Rahul was in his corner.
Yeah, I saw one from. I think there was a guy from Evolve that was independent.
Yeah. I think I remember what
Yeah.
you're talking about.
But that's not uncommon though. I think if they don't get permission to
I
fight
see.
or something like that,
So they want to fight, but they didn't clear it through the coaches or Evolve,
which is
or whatever.
fair enough.
Sure.
Yeah.
Beautiful finish.
And that's it. Yeah. And that hematoma is coming up soon. This dude is.
I mean,
tough as
I'm
nails,
staying
though.
on this footage just so we can see the hematoma, right?
I mean, that's the thing with those impact elbows, right? Not the ones that cut, but the ones that thud right into, especially around the nose and the eyes. They'll get that, especially the upper eye, get that massive hematoma. Oh, it looked like he pointed at it. He's like, "What the fuck is that?"
Yeah, I don't think he realized that it was there until he walked back over. He's like,
Yeah,
"Ooh."
because you're in the moment, right?
Yeah.
And what's Kai Xiong's walking around weight?
Oh, there you
This
go.
is his walking around weight. That's the thing. This guy's actually like 2 weight. I mean,
Oh yeah, I said it on the commentary, right?
Yeah.
He's clearly so much. You can see it right there. Look at the size difference.
yeah. Kai Xiong fights at 57, and this fight was at
Is
68.
that bantamweight, right?
No,
is
it's
that,
fly.
Is fly?
Yeah.
Oh,
he's a
dude.
flyweight. Yeah.
He'd be a murderer
But
at flyweight.
they fight at 67 or 68 for this one.
I mean,
Something.
yeah, you got to take the fights you can get, right?
Right, yeah. I'm saying that you're going like 3 weight classes up.
Yeah.
Like,
dude.
There you go.
Just to get a fight.
There's the hematoma shot we've all been after.
Oh yeah. And it blew up even bigger than this afterward.
Yeah, I had a picture. Did you see the picture?
That was the one upstairs, right?
Yeah,
Wait,
yeah.
I mean, they'd already gotten some ice on it. I mean, you can send it to Jake if you want. You
Yeah.
can airdrop it to him or
Drop
whatever.
it, Luke, and I'll bring it up.
Okay.
Oh no, sorry. WhatsApp it, Luke.
Okay.
I mean, he can airdrop it to that computer. Is that the computer that's on the monitor?
Yeah.
The Stronghold or my MacBook. If you airdrop it there, they can throw it up. He'd already gotten some ice on it by that point. But yeah, I mean, it was pretty gnarly, and that's the difference between.
I'll WhatsApp it to you because I'm technologically illiterate.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
You're fucking too old, dude. You're too old. That's what's going on here. But he's, it's the difference between the impact elbows and the cutting elbows, because those ones that thud in, and I even mentioned this to Kai Xiong because I brought it up on this podcast. My elbow after my pro debut looked like a fucking alien was bursting from my elbow because I wasn't framing and cutting. I was just hitting him with not even the edge of the elbow, but almost the bottom of the forearm. And then that shit just ballooned up. And I remember afterward, could not believe how much it hurt to elbow another dude's skull, right?
So this guy's head was like swollen up like this, right? We're warming up backstage. He chips my tooth.
He
And
chipped
then
your
he
tooth.
has the nerve to like he's complaining when we go back to my house afterwards. He's like my finger kind of hurts over here a little bit. I think I'm like, dude,
I got a boo-boo, coach. I got a whittle boo-boo.
You've been hit with one jab in your last 6 fights, so shut up.
I'm just fucking with you, Kai
Yeah.
Xiong. You're tough as nails, dude.
Yeah.
You're tough as nails. I'm just talking shit. I've had a few beers, dude. Give me a break. Yeah, okay. I just sent that to you. Hopefully you should be able to get it there. And kudos to both these guys. And this is everybody. They all were super happy after the fight. They all were chill. The vibe was totally good. It wasn't toxic at all.
Yeah. You want me to throw it up?
Yeah, throw it up. Yeah, and if you can zoom in there.
It's like that Johanna Jędrzejczyk.
Yeah, it had already, the swelling had already gone down here a little bit.
Yeah.
They'd already had ice on it for a while. This was maybe 20 minutes after the fight. Right away, it blows up. But the thing with those is real temporary. Like, as soon as you get an ice pack on there for 5 minutes, it does go down. I'm sure it's going to spread to his eye, and it's going to start. He's going to have a black eye for sure today. But those are, those are just rough to look at. But I'll take that any day over like getting knocked out or one of those nasty lacerations.
I don't
right?
know, man.
That's just inflammation.
I feel like getting knocked out. There's like.
No way, dude. You'd rather get knocked out than have a swelling on your head?
No. There's got to be a point where like you can take more damage if you stay awake.
You can take more damage.
Yeah, I don't think it's like once you lose 100 points of HP, you go unconscious. I think it's like I guess it's the right,
well said.
right place. Like he might have lost like 300 HP not getting knocked out. What if he would have just taken one big one, maybe 100 HP?
Yeah, I mean, either way, that's tough to look at. But kudos to the
Still
both of those
jolting
guys.
the head. It's definitely got to be.
Yeah,
not good
it
for the
does
brain.
hurt though, man. I mean, that's just a crunch, right?
Yeah.
But anyway, guys, shout out to everybody who fought on the card. Listen, this is the last fight was a pro fight, but up until that point, it's all amateurs. You guys are all early in your careers, and listen, I've been fucked up. I've been beat. I've lost in every martial arts discipline that I've done. It just comes with the territory. And what I liked was the vibe was good. Nobody was. It is what it is, right? You learn. You just keep going.
You know what it felt like? Have you ever seen Shawshank Redemption?
Of course.
You know that scene where they're on the roof and they're having
beer.
They're having beers and they're prisoners, but for that moment they were free. Let's do this whole pandemic. You know what I mean? It's just been like 2 years of just being a prisoner, right? And then just like kind of being there, just seeing all the old guys, all the other coaches and stuff, and it's like. There was like no tension. It was just we're all just so happy to be out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're all just so happy to be doing what we love to do. And
that's a great way to describe it, man.
Yeah.
It really is because it did feel like that. It felt like a breath of fresh air. Like,
yeah.
Like win-lose. No one gave a fuck.
No, man.
Like we're all just like, we can finally do this.
Yeah.
We can beat each other up without going to jail. It felt really good. That's a really great way to describe it, man.
I can get close enough to choke a stranger.
Yeah, exactly. And everybody's within the legal limit, but we were able to like fist bump our friend. I saw Eddie Ong there. I hadn't seen him in fucking all these people that we typically see in competitions like 4 or 5 times a year. Even if we don't train like with them actively, you see people like we've been in the scene for 10 years in Singapore, right? So like I've seen some of these people for so long, Rahul and Eddie, and then a lot of the young fighters that I've seen, and of course you and Kai and Tiff was there, Alvin was there, like these guys that I've seen in the scene for so long. It was just nice to just have an environment where like we're together doing the thing that binds us together.
It's like a reunion.
Yeah.
Almost,
It's like a fucked up family reunion.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. All right, let's get to Chope's craziness before we finish this podcast.
I got a bounce real soon as well.
Okay, sure.
But I also want to talk about this.
We'll hit this up for 10 minutes and then we can finish up.
Is this the?
So this was Fight Circus, right? This is John Nuts and Chope's thing, right?
This is Nuts thing. Chope's just in it. So.
Oh, I thought this was Fight Circus. Is it?
Yeah, it's Fight Circus.
Or Full Metal Dojo, or is it separate?
It's Fight Circuit.
The same guy.
I mean, John's fucking. Is it John's thing?
Yeah, it's John's thing.
John's fucking crazy, dude.
John Nuts show.
He's fucking crazy, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was thinking outside the box.
So is this? We can watch the whole fight, right?
Will posted it, so yeah.
I mean, it's like 2 minutes or something like that. So, if you're listening to this podcast, what you're about to watch is a 2 versus 1. So this is Will Chope, who fought Max Holloway in the UFC, fighting 2 people half his size at the same time because Will Chope is a fucking psychopath. and I love this dude. And he's one of the only people I know that's crazy enough to do this.
Yeah.
All right, sorry, we've lost your camera, Luke.
Okay. Mine?
Yeah.
Okay, no worries. We're pretty much done here. So let's throw this on. They can hear the audio. So what do we got here, dude?
Well, you got Will fighting 2 people.
So you got Will in the corner getting swarmed by 2 people simultaneously.
It's still kind of unclear what their rules are.
I mean, dude, there's no rules. This is absolute bat shit.
He has a guillotine right here, right?
But he's using the guillotine as a wedge between. Look at that, and he's getting kicked and kicked and kicked in the leg.
Yeah.
Is that it?
Yeah,
that's it.
That's it.
Once you take out one,
I thought it was longer than that. Is that the whole fight?
Yeah,
no,
that's it.
that was just the finishing sequence. But it wasn't much longer than that.
Yeah, it was a little bit longer than that,
okay.
right? Yeah, I feel like it was a little bit longer than that.
He had a couple of guillotines where for some reason they kept breaking it every time he would get.
Yeah, that's why I was like, what is going on?
Yeah.
There you go. Luke, do you want to go sit over a major?
What's up? Nah, I mean we'll finish up here, dude. It's all good. You can just keep Major on the main. You highlight his sexy face.
Hijacking this podcast. This is
Yeah,
not my podcast.
This is the Major Overall podcast.
Major Overall podcast.
So I mean, yeah, put that up on the main screen there. Just that that image.
Which one? No,
The one you just had up. Yeah.
I love this.
I mean, this is basically the whole fight, right? That is the that is the whole fight. Basically, it's Will Chope having somebody, if you're listening, in a front headlock. So imagine you have somebody in a guillotine, and Will is using the guy that he has in a guillotine as a barrier between the guy that's trying to kick him while both of his hands are on the guy's neck. Yeah. And he's just getting kick, whack, whack, whack while he's like trying to choke this guy. And they had a weird rule, right, where any submission won the fight. It's not like double elimination.
Right.
He doesn't have to beat one guy and then fight the other.
He doesn't get to fight the other.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that like, being able to fight that guy one-on-one, if they couldn't do it with a friend.
Yeah, exactly. How are you going to do it one-on-one?
Yeah.
So basically, if Will submits one of them, the fight's over.
Yeah.
Right? He doesn't have to beat both of them.
Yeah.
And, it's just interesting. And Will Chope is a fucking crazy motherfucker. If you don't know who Will Chope is, go and Google him and go and
definitely follow him. I love his Instagram feed.
And I did a podcast with him before, and you can watch it. It's hilarious. He's one of the most active fighters in Southeast Asia. Major is, you introduced me to him. I mean, yeah, you and Will have some fucking stories, dude. Like, yeah. I don't know if
he's one of the only guys.
We'll get pulled off YouTube if you tell them, but
yeah, he's one of the only guys that's been in Asia as long as I have. I think we met 2010, something like that, in Taiwan. He's just bouncing all around. Yeah. So
fighting bare knuckle, fighting in the UFC, fighting Muay Thai, fighting boxing, fighting MMA, fighting two dudes at once. Like this dude does not give a fuck. I worry about his health, but goddamn, it's entertaining. Like,
yeah, I thought. You know, the funny thing is, those guys, they're like an official team. This is not the first time this has happened.
No, the fight circus thing is right.
No, the 2-1.
Oh,
they've. I think Will's like the fourth guy they fought 2-1.
Have they ever won one yet?
No, they always win.
Oh.
Yeah, they always win. Usually what happens is they shoot a double leg on, like they get one guy immobile and the other guy comes over the top and punches. But Will was like a little bit like aware of, you know, he's seen the footage.
But
you know,
Will gained it out.
He's like, I'm going to use one as a shield and tuck my chin.
That's what you got, like a human shield, right?
Yeah,
you grab one, you use it as a human shield.
Yeah.
You know, let's end on this, Jake. But do you remember the old? It's like a Russian video of like guys dressed up like Spider-Man and Batman, and they're in like a 2v1. That was the first time that I'd ever seen. You might be able to find this. I'm sure if you Google it, and we'll finish on this, you can find it. And it was the first time I ever saw it, and I saw some tactics because what happened was it's 2v1. For whatever reason, they're wearing fucking superhero outfits, so you can't see their face. One of them is clearly trained, and the other two, it's like whatever. That's the only way you could do that fight, right? If they're both trained, like you're fucked. And what he did was the Spider-Man got him in a Muay Thai clinch, and then when the other guy would come in and try to hit him, he would swim him over and then use him as a barrier. And as he's kneeing him in the clinch, he would keep swimming him over as the guy would try to flank him, so that way he could get to his back. And it was the first time I ever thought about like, oh, this is how you would actually potentially deal with a 2v1 threat. Is first of all, you got to use lateral footwork, keep both of them in front of you, and then if you do end up in like a clinch situation, you have to use one of them as basically a human shield. Yeah. And that's exactly what Will did.
Yeah, that's to your point. Like keeping them in a straight line. I saw another fight. They used to do this back in the Philippines. They would do like 2 versus 2, but I think if one guy got knocked out, then it was 1 versus 2. So
that's what I thought that was going to be.
Yeah,
which would have been a little bit, John, if you're listening, that would have been a little more entertaining.
Yeah.
Poor guy though. If that's the one guy's left staring down Will Chope, like
I couldn't beat him with 2 people, and now there's just me. Oh shit! Well, I've not thought this through.
There was one clip I saw. I think it was one of those Filipino fights, maybe like URCC or something like that, where the one guy, like the teammate, had gotten knocked out, right? So then it was 2 versus 1. So they reset it when that happens. When one guy gets finished, they reset it. They put the other 2 guys on the other side of the cage. They put the other guy on the opposite side, and this guy just lined them up and smoked them both. Whap, whap.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, just took them both out. Yeah. One after another. Pop, pop.
Will Chope, if you're listening, you are a crazy motherfucker, dude. And I love you. I want you on the podcast again, stat. As soon as these borders open up, dude, let's do it. All right, man. Should we finish it? This must have been an hour and a half solid.
A long one.
A long one. Nice. Yeah. Always fun, Major. So, what are we on? 62? Is this 62?
61.
61, Dan. We're 61 deep in this motherfucker. We're starting to get some experience on us in this podcast world. All right, everybody. Major Overall. Head coach of Matrix MMA. Go train with this dude. Jake, the producer, in the house. Thank you all for listening. This is the Stronghold Podcast. We'll see you next time.